Chapter 7:12. When Xiao Chen walked over to take a look, he felt incredibly shocked as well. The moment he entered, he discovered the extraordinariness of this formation. That golden blood was definitely Emperor Wu's blood. Otherwise, it would not have such might. The physical bodies of emperors already surpassed that of ordinary bodies. Their blood, bones, and every part of their bodies were supreme treasures. This was especially so for their blood, which already contained spiritual origin energy. As long as the emperor's blood did not run dry, they could revive from a single drop of blood, unkillable. Unexpectedly, this formation was drawn entirely with emperor's blood. One could easily imagine how mighty the formation was and how shocking the items it sealed were. Ao Jiao looked for a while before saying, "This is not an ordinary emperor's blood. It is the golden deity blood of the outer realm deity race's Emperor Wu. The spiritual energy it contains is even stronger. With this formation, the might of the seal will double." The outer realm deity race was one of the 5 great races of the Kunlun realm. The so-called deity race was only in their original world. No one in the Kunlun realm saw them as gods. This group of outer realm deity race came from another world. In that world, they held a high position. They were born to be superior people, possessing boundless magic abilities and boundless strength, possessing supreme strength. Their world suffered a calamity that they could not resolve. For the sake of survival, they migrated their entire race, using formations to traverse the boundless starry heavens, breaking through the barrier of the crystal wall, and arriving in the ancient Kunlun realm. The outer realm deity race was very strong, especially in the aspect of mental energy. They far surpassed the cultivators of the Kunlun realm. Unfortunately, they ran into the most glorious age of cultivators in the Kunlun realm, an age where emperors were as common as clouds and sages were everywhere. This group of deity race people, who originally held high positions, wanted to reunite the Kunlun realm and restore the deity race to its former glory. However, they were taught a ruthless lesson. Nearly all the peak experts were killed, and their race nearly went extinct. Fortunately, the various races of the Kunlun realm fought each other, giving them a chance to catch their breath and survive. After the Emperor War, the various races of the Kunlun realm suffered significant losses. The deity race, who felt that they were not qualified to participate in the Emperor War, managed to preserve the elites of their race. Things changed with the passage of time. 50,000 years after the Emperor War, many of the races that once bullied the deity race vanished in the boundless river of history. As for the outer realm god race, they developed bit by bit, cultivating and recuperating, concealing their strengths and biding their time. Now, they were one of the 5 major races of the Kunlun realm. Furthermore, they were very strong, showing signs of surpassing the other races. Xiao Chen's understanding of the outer realm god race was limited to this. It was all official information. As for some of the deity race's experts, the characteristics of their martial techniques and their structure were not clear at all. Ao Jiao rubbed her head, revealing a reminiscing expression. "Let me think, 10,000 years ago, the celestial race was powerful and the human race was weak. The Bushan Palace's spirit veins near Kunlun Mountain are often harassed by the God clan and have suffered heavy losses. The situation only improved after the Qing Emperor took over the Bushan Palace. So it's not strange that he killed a few great emperors of the God clan. The golden formation had a diameter of 100 meters, and the golden blood on it gave off a faint radiance. Even after 10,000 years, the blood had not solidified. In the center of the formation the transparent crystal was perfectly embedded with the ground, without any gap. Ao Jiao entered deep thought. She could not understand it no matter how she thought about it. She said, however, why did they go through so much trouble to seal a piece of white jade crystal? Furthermore, there is a 5-element absolute sealing formation outside. The doors of the Blue Dragon Palace are another formation. There are formations within formations and formations within formations. Furthermore, even Emperor Wu did not dare to barge into each of these formations. Xiao Chun looked at the resplendent, transparent white jade crystal in the center of the formation and said, "If you want to know, just take it out and take a look." Ao Jiao looked at the golden formation in front and said, "You'd best not have such thoughts. Given your physical body that barely counts as a rank 1 sage body, the golden blood will burn you into slag in less than a minute." Xiao Chen laughed disapprovingly. He had just said it casually and did not mean anything else. Just the might contained in the blood required Xiao Chen to circulate his sovereign bloodline at full power to resist. How could he barge into it? Xiao Chen was not as conflicted as Ao Jiao. He did not care what was being sealed. Since it was unrelated to him, there was no need to think too much about it, no matter how strange it was. Xiao Chen thought about the brocade box on the wooden table behind him. He turned around to see if there was anything good in it. Boom! At this moment, the dimly lit hall suddenly became bright, and the temperature continued to rise. Xiao Chen, who had already touched the brocade box, was startled by this scene. He quickly turned his head back to look. He saw every line of the golden formation giving off a faint glow. A boundless might suddenly soared. An irresistible force came over and sent Xiao Chen flying back. Then, he crashed into the wall and vomited a mouthful of blood in a sorry state. In that instant, the Emperor's might contained in the golden blood was completely activated. Xiao Chen only had a trace of sovereign bloodline. It was not enough to face this. The jade-white crystal in the center of the formation shot out a golden pillar of light. This was the source of the light in the hall. At the same time, unknown to Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao, the ground 10 kilometers away from the Blue Dragon Palace trembled continuously. All sorts of demonic beasts fled in panic. On the surface, the Azure Dragon Palace appeared calm. However, the sealed item was currently resisting intensely. The light slowly scattered. When everything calmed down, Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao saw a flame that looked like a golden spiritual spring swimming around in the transparent jade-white crystal. A wisp of flame that looked like a golden spirit fountain quickly swam one round inside the crystal before sinking into the interior of the crystal. This is the heavenly flame. Xiao Chen was no stranger to this item. There were legends of the heavenly flame in the Sky Dome realm. He had also seen Chu Chaoyun's heavenly flame, which was only a tenth of its original size. The flames of the world were split into yin and yang. Only the heavenly flame stood outside yin and yang, transcending the world. It was the king of all flames. Its might was so great that it could even burn down the entire Tianwu continent, destroying a small realm. However, it was clear that Chu Chaoyun had not completely refined and absorbed a tenth of the heavenly flame back then. At best, he could bring out 20% of its strength. A strange look flashed in Ao Jiao's eyes. She said, "I heard that the original Tianwu Emperor split the complete heavenly flame into 10 portions. Unexpectedly, there is a portion sealed here as well. Furthermore, it is in the hands of the Qing Emperor." Xiao Chen's eyes also filled with shock. The Qing Emperor had fought a great war with the Tianwu dynasty. It was understandable that he had snatched away the other party's heavenly flame. However, it was just a tenth of the heavenly flame. Using such a large formation to seal it felt like making a big fuss over a minor issue. When Ao Jiao heard Xiao Chen's doubts, she explained, "It should not be that simple. This strand of heavenly flame contains the origin flame of the heavenly flame. If one cannot obtain the origin flame, even if one gathers 9 portions of the heavenly flame, they will not be able to bring out the might of the complete heavenly flame." Looking at the resplendent, transparent, white jade-like crystal, Xiao Chen entered deep thought. He said, "There should be a formation in this white jade-like crystal. Even if someone snatches away the crystal, they will have to put in a lot of effort to obtain the heavenly flame." Ao Jiao clapped her hands and stopped thinking about this. Then, she turned her head and looked at Xiao Chen. She smiled and said, "All right, I figured out the problem. Let's see what is in this brocade box. After coming to the Blue Dragon Palace, if we do not obtain anything, it would be too much of a loss. After Ao Jiao spoke, she rushed ahead of Xiao Chen and opened the brocade box, catching Xiao Chen somewhat unprepared. Gently opening the brocade box, Ao Jiao saw what was inside. She exclaimed in shock, "It is a jade strip." Martial techniques stored in jade strips are normally secret techniques of the Holy Lands that are not taught to outsiders. Xiao Chen received the jade strip and fiddled with it. He discovered that he could not use his spiritual sense to enter it. He looked at Ao Jiao and asked, "How do I use this jade strip?" Ao Jiao had followed the Thunder King everywhere. Her horizons were much broader than Xiao Chen's. Naturally, she knew this like the back of her hand. She replied casually, "Drip your blood on it and you will be able to sense it. However, after dripping your blood, you will have to make a blood oath to not teach this martial technique to outsiders." Xiao Chen did as she said. Soon, some information appeared in his mind. He quickly closed his eyes and tried to sense it carefully. Soon, the light from the jade strip faded and turned into powder. Xiao Chen only opened his eyes after a long time. Ao Jiao asked in anticipation, "How is it? What martial technique is it? Heaven-ranked or a sage-ranked martial technique that surpasses heaven-ranked?" Xiao Chen shook his head, indicating that it was neither. Ao Jiao's mouth gaped slightly as she exclaimed in shock, "Could it be a legendary divine-ranked martial technique or an immortal secret technique?" Xiao Chen smiled faintly and said, "It is not that exaggerated. It is just a dragon tone art, a sound wave martial technique. It is able to infuse sound waves with dragon might and can be used to attack directly. It can also destroy the opponent's aura and intimidate them." Ao Jiao's eyes turned into crescent moons as she smiled. She said joyfully, "It is actually the dragon tone art. It has been lost for 10,000 years already. This is like picking up a treasure." Xiao Chen did not feel that there was anything special about this martial technique. He asked, "Why do you say so?" Ao Jiao explained, "This dragon tone art was comprehended by the Qing Emperor himself. Only the true inheritors of the Dragon's Gate are qualified to learn it. It is specifically used to counter the mental energy martial techniques of the deity race. The deity race cultivators use their mental energy martial techniques to move about unhindered. They are rather difficult to deal with. In the future, when you meet a deity race expert, there will be nothing to fear." Xiao Chen thought for a while. In the future, he would not just cultivate in the Tianwu domain. He would definitely go to the outer realm like the disciples of the three holy masters. At that time, this dragon tone art would be of great use. Even if it was not used to deal with the deity race, it would have an unexpected effect on breaking the aura of an expert. The two continued searching, hoping to find more good things. However, they found nothing. Xiao Chen glanced at the entrance to the second floor and hesitated for a while. Then, he said, "Come, let's go to the second floor." Dong. Just as the two were about to enter the second floor, a black energy seal fell down and completely blocked the entrance. This startled Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao. They stood at the entrance and turned their heads to look. To their surprise, they discovered a black-robed wandering spirit on the first floor at some point in time. The black-robed wandering spirit slowly lowered his right hand that was pointing at the two. Clearly, he was the one who had obtained the seal earlier. The black-robed wandering spirit was an old man. His body was a shadow of light, giving off an ethereal feeling. Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao were both startled at the same time. Earlier, the two had searched the first floor of the Blue Dragon Palace, but had not found anything suspicious. Ao Jiao looked at the old man and immediately thought of something. She pointed at him and said, "You are the item spirit. You are the item spirit of this Blue Dragon Palace." Chapter 713. A faint smile appeared on the black-robed spirit's aged face. He said, "You guessed right. However, this is not a place you can enter." After saying that, the black-robed spirit stretched out his finger, and a dazzling light appeared on his fingertip. Before Ao Jiao could react, her body turned into light and entered the immortal spirit ring. Xiao Chen's expression changed. He quickly summoned the lunar shadow saber and stared coldly at the black-robed spirit. "There is no need to be nervous. I just let her have a good sleep. When she wakes up, she might even thank me properly." The black-robed spirit smiled amicably as he asked Xiao Chen calmly. Xiao Chen sent his spiritual sense into the immortal spirit ring. Indeed, it was as the other party said. Ao Jiao lay peacefully beside the netherworld flower, asleep. "I have already waited for you for 10,000 years. The Blue Dragon Palace's item spirit looked at Xiao Chen with excitement in his eyes. Xiao Chen's heart did not fluctuate much. When he first saw the Blue Dragon Palace, he already had such a feeling. Long ago, when Xiao Xiong discovered that Xiao Chen possessed the Blue Dragon martial spirit and chased him out of the clan, Xiao Chen had already guessed that Xiao Chen's origins were extraordinary. However, was this black-robed spirit trustworthy? Xiao Chen gently leaped out of the corridor and looked at the other party. He asked calmly, "Who are you? Why have you waited for me for 10,000 years?" The Blue Dragon Palace's item spirit had an unfathomable expression in his deep eyes. He smiled faintly and said, "Who am I? Why don't you ask who you are?" Xiao Chen's heart skipped a beat. A strange look flashed in his eyes as he stared at the black-robed spirit, trying to find some clues in the other party's eyes. Who was he? He was the Xiao clan's Xiao Chen. He was the white-robed bladesman, Xiao Chen. However, this was what others thought of him. Only Xiao Chen knew that he was not. He came from another world. Although he was also called Xiao Chen, he was not the true Xiao Chen. However, the old man's eyes were deep and boundless, and no clues could be seen. It was impossible to guess what he was thinking, and there was no way to find out what he was thinking. When the black-clothed old man saw Xiao Chen's expression, he smiled in a friendly manner and said, "There is no need to be so wary. I will not harm you. In fact, if you did not go to the second level, I would not even appear in front of you." "I can't go up?" The artifact spirit of the Blue Dragon Palace smiled helplessly and said, "Of course. The entire Blue Dragon Palace is yours. I won't stop you if you pass the 5-element absolute ceiling formation. But you're too weak. The second floor's test will take your life on the spot. I can't even figure out how you managed to pass through the 5 elements absolute ceiling array outside." Xiao Chen pondered for a moment and told him how he used the trick to pass through the 5 elements absolute ceiling formation. "So that's how it is. That youth from 5,000 years ago was indeed startling. To think that he could think of such a method to break the formation. It looks like I have to make up for this weakness in the future." The black-clothed old man revealed an expression of understanding. Then, he turned to Xiao Chen and asked, "How is that youth now?" "He should be the strongest sovereign martial emperor of this era. The title of Thunder King will probably belong to him." Xiao Chen shook his head and said, "No, he died many years ago." The black-clothed old man revealed an expression of shock. He said, "How can that be? He has great luck. Emperor Wu, who was already a minor heavenly martial emperor 5,000 years ago, has already risen to prominence. How could he fall for no reason? The sovereign martial emperors of the Tianwu domain would not allow him to die. This person could have grown to the level of the Qing emperor." When the black-clothed old man heard this news, some panic appeared on his old face. He muttered non-stop, not daring to believe it. An absolute genius like the Thunder King, who survived many tribulations to become Emperor Wu, already possesses supreme luck. Even the martial emperors of the other races would not dare to make a move on him. Could it be that they did it? That must be the case. One Qing emperor is already troublesome enough for them. They will not allow another to appear. The black-clothed old man muttered to himself. Xiao Chen was confused. He could not understand what was going on. He did not understand why the death of the Thunder King affected this person so much. After a long time, the black-clothed old man calmed down. He looked at Xiao Chen and seemed to have made up his mind about something. He said, "Your martial spirit is already scattered. Originally, I was planning to let you reunite it in the future. It looks like I do not have that much time." The old man walked around Xiao Chen and arrived behind him. He said, "Turn around. Let me ask you, have you practiced the dragon subduing slash to the second slash? In the end, you have not been able to improve, unable to find the feeling of truly drawing your saber?" Xiao Chen asked in shock, "How did you know?" The black-clothed old man smiled faintly and said, "My martial spirit is already scattered. How can I learn the essence of soaring dragon? Quickly become Emperor Wu and pass the 5-element absolute sealing formation. At that time, this old man will serve you." Ding! He pointed a finger at Xiao Chen's forehead. In an instant, a strong wind blew. Xiao Chen's body floated up uncontrollably. Azure light radiated from his body, and a berserk energy surged out. All 360 acupoints in Xiao Chen's body exploded. Dragon chi flowed through his body, scattering everywhere. The berserk energy battered every inch of Xiao Chen's skin and internal organs. It was extremely painful. Xiao Chen clenched his teeth, and his expression twisted. He was in extreme pain. The blue dragon martial spirit hidden in his acupoints was completely drawn out. The blue dragon tattoo on his left and right arms slowly dimmed. Under the control of the black-clothed old man's item spirit, more than 300 strands of dragon chi flowed into Xiao Chen's dantian. Boom! When all the strands of dragon chi clashed together, they formed and produced an intense explosion in Xiao Chen's body. He immediately vomited a mouthful of blood. When the light scattered, Xiao Chen sank his consciousness into his dantian. He discovered that the blue dragon martial spirit, which Song Ke had scattered, had actually reformed in his dantian. Golden patterns appeared on the surface of the originally ordinary dantian, making it look even more solid, dense, and mysterious. The veritable essence energy liquid around the dantian formed 100 white clouds floating around the dantian. After the Blue Dragon Palace's item spirit finished doing all this, his body became even fainter. He placed his finger on Xiao Chen's forehead and pushed. Xiao Chen's body flew back like a cannonball. Then, he landed on the mountain that the Thunder Emperor chopped off with a loud bang. Pa! The 2 bronze doors closed, and the black-clothed old man's voice came from inside. 10,000 years is not long, but it is not short either. Advance to Martial Emperor quickly, for the Dragon's Gate and for yourself. As Xiao Chen looked at the tightly shut bronze doors, his mind filled with doubts. He could not connect all these things together. Why was the heavenly flame's origin flame sealed in the palace? Why did the Thunder King's death make the old man so anxious? Why did he say that he had waited 10,000 years for me? The extraordinary secret treasure, the Blue Dragon Palace, the fallen Holy Land, the Dragon's Gate, and the unrivaled Qing Emperor, what did all this have to do with him? Everything was a mess. He could not make sense of it or make sense of it. Never mind. I'll just treat it as if I never came here. It will just add to my worries. Xiao Chen shook his head and sighed. If possible, he just wanted to be a pure bladesman, pursuing the great Tao of cultivation and standing at the peak of the world. However, all the clues and everything pointed to the fact that he did not come to this world by chance. His fate might have been decided from the start. No matter what, increasing his strength was the most important thing. Whether it was simply wanting to survive or to unravel all the mysteries, strength was always the most important. Xiao Chen collected his thoughts and stopped looking at the dust-covered Blue Dragon Palace. He condensed his martial spirit again, and the blue dragon tattoo on his arm vanished. The most important thing now was to see what kind of changes this would bring to his strength. Song Ke had once shattered Xiao Chen's martial spirit, severely injuring him and leaving him on the verge of death. He had been in a sorry state in the underground river, narrowly escaping death. This was something that Xiao Chen would never forget. Since then, Xiao Chen had always thought that his martial spirit would never recover. Unexpectedly, it reunited today. This made Xiao Chen, who had not had a martial spirit for a long time, suddenly feel somewhat unaccustomed. So he circulated his quintessence slightly. Half of the white cloud outside his dantian immediately vanished, turning into surging quintessence that surged through his meridians like a gushing sea, unobstructed. Xiao Chen flicked his finger, and a strand of dense purple saber qi whistled through the air. After a long time, it vanished from Xiao Chen's sight. Hey, it seems like I can use my quintessence more smoothly than before, Xiao Chen said, feeling somewhat surprised. Then, he tested it a few more times and discovered that it was indeed so. The speed at which his quintessence flowed was even faster, about 20% faster. With a thought, his quintessence gathered at his fingertip and shot out. Xiao Chen closed his eyes and checked his cultivation. He was overjoyed. It seemed like all the dragon qi in his body flowed back and turned into his cultivation. Now, Xiao Chen was a middle-stage medial-grade martial monarch. He had already reached late-stage medial-grade martial monarch, not far from the peak. Xiao Chen brandished his fist and circulated pure vital qi. He punched the air, and a surging vital qi exploded in his fist. A deafening clap of thunder seemed to ring out from the flat ground. The wind howled and ripples appeared in the air, extending for 3,000 meters. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. He muttered to himself, "In the past, after I opened my dragon acupoints, my vital qi would increase by 30%. Now that the martial spirit in my acupoints is no longer there, I no longer have such explosive power. However, my strength has increased from 1,800,000 kilograms to 1 million kilograms. Now that I no longer have the 30% explosive power, my ordinary strength has increased by 20%. Overall, I have gained a little." The only thing that disappointed Xiao Chen was that the dragon acupoints in his feet were no longer there. He would not be able to continue using the technique of quickly changing his position within a short distance. The dragon acupoints in the soles of his feet had helped Xiao Chen many times in his battles. They could be used to attack or retreat. They were very practical. Let's not talk about this for now. I should raise my cultivation first. After I refined my cultivation twice and advanced to late-stage medial-grade martial monarch, I should be able to defeat an opponent like Shimen Bao easily. With a flip of his hand, 50-year-old earth essence fruits appeared in his palm. Then, Xiao Chen sat down cross-legged and ate 3 in one go. 50-year-old earth essence fruits would only tickle Xiao Chen. Only by consuming a few at the same time could he achieve his goal of raising his cultivation quickly. After refining the medicinal energy of the earth essence fruits, Xiao Chen was not in a rush to consume them. Instead, he spent some time refining the quintessence that the medicinal energy had turned into. Chapter 714. Xiao Chen had refined the quintessence that he had obtained using the inferior-grade spirit-gathering pearls earlier. He would not give up on his hard work here. After Xiao Chen consumed all the earth essence fruits under 100 years of age, he was only a step away from peak late-stage martial monarch. Xiao Chen took out one of his remaining 3 medial-grade spirit-gathering pearls. Using the surging quintessence in the medial-grade spirit-gathering pearl, he easily broke through this small bottleneck. A medial-grade spirit-gathering pearl was worth 1 million superior-grade spirit stones. Even if ordinary people had spirit stones, they would not be able to buy one. It could be used to break through the bottleneck from medial-grade martial monarch to superior-grade martial monarch. It was a waste for Xiao Chen to use it to break through this small bottleneck. However, time was tight. The true dragon cave had already opened, and most of the people had probably arrived already. If Xiao Chen did not want the treasures in there to be snatched away, he had to strengthen himself quickly. When Xiao Chen's cultivation reached peak late-stage medial-grade martial monarch, he took out a superior-grade quintessence gathering pill. However, he did not rush to consume it. When Xiao Chen thought about the pain of consuming the quintessence gathering pill the last time, he could not help but tremble. After taking a deep breath, Xiao Chen decisively placed the quintessence gathering pill in his mouth. After chewing a few times, he swallowed it all. Soon, the expected pain arrived. After experiencing it once, Xiao Chen experienced it once. Xiao Chen clenched his teeth and did his best to endure as large beads of sweat rolled off his forehead. Time slowly went by. With every second that Xiao Chen endured, the pain intensified. Wave after wave of pain assaulted him. Even though he had experienced it once, Xiao Chen's willpower was put to a great test. If he was not careful, all his previous efforts would go to waste. All his efforts would be for naught. When the pain vanished, Xiao Chen did not feel relief. Instead, he felt numb. He lost all sensation. After a long time, Xiao Chen's lips curled up in a bitter smile. He said, "Such pain, only someone like me would challenge it again and again." With the aid of the quintessence gathering pill, Xiao Chen's cultivation returned to early-stage medial-grade martial monarch. However, the 100 white clouds around his dantian had all turned purple. Xiao Chen stood up and withdrew his aura, not letting any of it leak out. His pitch-black eyes were like black gems, filled with luster and spiritual energy. With a thought, Xiao Chen flicked his 10 fingers, and strands of purple saber chi circled around him, dancing around him. Saber chi flew everywhere, lightning flickered and crackled incessantly. It was like a storm of sabers mixed with lightning. Xiao Chen's long hair fluttered in the air. Amidst the storm of blades, he looked like a peerless killing god, showing off his sharpness. Slash! Xiao Chen shouted, and the sabers in front of him shot forward like 10,000 arrows. Kasie! Kasie! They exploded in the air. If there was an enemy in front of him with a slightly weaker cultivation base, he would immediately be riddled with holes. Xiao Chen nodded in satisfaction. After his quintessence became denser, he could clearly feel his strength increasing. For this moment, all the pain was worth it. Xiao Chen sat back down on the top half of the mountain. Then, he stretched out his hand, and rows of earth essence fruits appeared in front of him. Even the youngest one was 100 years old. 10 200-year-old earth essence fruits, and 1 300-year-old earth essence fruit. Such a horrifying harvest would cause others' eyes to go red with envy. Xiao Chen thought back to when Hu Hai and the others saw 10 200-year-old earth essence fruit. If they knew that Xiao Chen had another peak-grade earth essence fruit, their jaws would probably fall off in shock. As Xiao Chen looked at the earth essence fruits before him, he smiled faintly and said, "The savage battlefield is indeed a land of fortuitous encounters. If it were under normal circumstances, how could my cultivation grow so quickly?" Suddenly, Xiao Chen thought about the ferocious people he had seen since then, Anjuanxi by Wuxue, Shui Lingling, and the passionate young master. The excitement in Xiao Chen's heart could not help but fade. Compared to these people, what did Xiao Chen's current accomplishments count for? How could he be complacent with just a slight improvement? Xiao Chen's gaze was resolute as he said, "It is not enough, far from enough. After this savage battlefield ends, I need to be able to protect myself against the 7 giants." The extreme insect's true inheritors mocked Xiao Chen. Before Bai Wuxue left, he had a cold and sinister look in his eyes. If Xiao Chen stopped there, he would die for sure. And Juanxi's casual whip sent the 300-meter-long venomous python tumbling in the air. Murong Lingfeng's folding fan did not hesitate to kill a half-sage loose cultivator when he saw one. The 7 giants treated half-sages as nothing, casually killing them. However, Xiao Chen was still a medial-grade martial monarch. The mysterious son of the 3 holy masters had already killed his way out of the Kunlun realm. In the vast Kunlun realm, He was the leader of the human race's younger generation, traveling everywhere. His fame spread far and wide, shaking up the Kunlun realm. Xiao Chen sighed and said, "This world is very big. For the sake of seeing all the sceneries, I have to work hard and never give up." There were more than 30 100-year-old Earth essence fruits, 10 200-year-old Earth essence fruits, and 1 300-year-old peak-grade Earth essence fruit. This was an immeasurably vast fortune. Xiao Chen spent 3 days and 3 nights before he completely consumed it. After that, he spent another 2 days before he completely stabilized the medicinal liquid he refined. His cultivation rose to peak late-stage medial-grade martial monarch once more. Now, he was only 1 step away from superior-grade martial monarch. Xiao Chen had already refined his quintessence twice. Long ago, he no longer feared regular superior-grade martial monarch. Now that he had advanced to peak medial-grade martial monarch, the advantage of superior-grade martial monarchs in quintessence was gone. Xiao Chen would even be able to hold his own against a half-sage in terms of pure quintessence. He would no longer have to face Bai Wushue's great icy cold palm, which was not a killing move. Xiao Chen would no longer have to use the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Purple clouds drifted around Xiao Chen's dantian, which was covered in golden patterns. The purple clouds crowded together and looked like a moon surrounding the mysterious dantian. Xiao Chen's vast quintessence was at least 3 or 4 times stronger than Xiao Chen's before he entered the Blue Dragon Palace. In the past, if Xiao Chen executed a heaven-ranked martial technique, he could execute it 5 times in a row at most. After that, his quintessence would not be able to keep up. Now, Xiao Chen felt that if he executed the Blue Dragon Goes to Sea, he would have no problem executing it 10 times in a row. Furthermore, he would have more than enough quintessence. The many purple clouds around Xiao Chen's dantian flickered with electricity. They were all the purest and densest lightning-attributed quintessence. At this moment, Xiao Chen's eyes were purple. Occasionally, electricity flickered in the depths of his eyes. He probably would not be able to recover from this mysterious phenomenon anytime soon. Xiao Chen casually opened his hand, and a clump of lightning-attributed quintessence appeared in his palm. Then, he tossed it out. The lightning-attributed quintessence landed on the ground and exploded, creating a bottomless pit. Just as the dust rose into the air, the remnant static exploded and turned it into powder. When the wind blew, it disappeared without a trace, leaving behind a 100-meter-wide pit in the ground. Furthermore, this was just a casual strike from Xiao Chen. His true strength was far greater than this. If he refined his quintessence and turned it into saber qi, it would be even more terrifying. Speaking of lightning-attributed quintessence, Xiao Chen could not help but compare it to Enjuanshi, the demonic genius rumored to be the strongest of the 7 giants. Back then, Enjuanshi had whipped the 300-meter-long venomous python into the air. The vast lightning-attributed quintessence had shocked Xiao Chen greatly. Xiao Chen entered deep thought. He supported his chin with his right hand and said, "In terms of quintessence, I cultivate the Purple Thunder Divine Incantation, which surpasses ordinary heaven-ranked cultivation techniques. I refined my quintessence twice in both inferior-grade Martial Monarch and medial-grade Martial Monarch. Even if he is a half-sage and his quintessence is very strong, it should not be much stronger than mine. However, even now, why do I feel that my lightning-attributed quintessence is on a completely different level from his?" A pretty figure appeared behind Xiao Chen. She said softly, "It is because his state of thunder has already touched the threshold of the will of thunder. Perhaps even more incredible, he has already grasped 10% of the will of thunder." Xiao Chen turned his head and discovered Ao Jiao yawning lazily as she spoke to him. This time, when Ao Jiao woke up, Xiao Chen discovered that she seemed somewhat different. However, he could not tell what was different. He smiled warmly and said, "You are awake." Ao Jiao rolled her eyes at Xiao Chen and muttered, "Nonsense. If you are not awake, who is talking to you? You really do not know how to find a topic to talk about." Xiao Chen had long since understood Ao Jiao's temper. She always retorted first, so he smiled faintly and changed the topic. "Isn't Yuanxi really as strong as you say? The will of thunder is not that easy to grasp." Ao Jiao replied seriously, "That is natural. Furthermore, that is a conservative estimate. If he had grasped 20% of the will of thunder, I would not be surprised." When Xiao Chen heard this, he could not help feeling disappointed and frustrated. This was the first time he had been left so far behind by someone of the same generation in what he was best at. Right now, he had no idea what the will of thunder was. He had no idea where it came from. Lung Tianhe once said that aside from Tianwu, the comprehension of a will required opportunities and horizons. Now that he had come to the Kunlun realm and broadened his horizons, where was his opportunity? When Ao Jiao saw Xiao Chen's expression, her heart tightened for some reason. She could feel the disappointment in Xiao Chen's heart. The lazy expression on Ao Jiao's cute face disappeared. She giggled and said, "Don't overthink. You are pretty good yourself. You are not even 22 years old, and your state of thunder has already reached the limit. Furthermore, it contains the immortal attribute. As long as you comprehend a will, your will of thunder will become the immortal will of thunder. At that time, even if he has 30% of the will of thunder, you will not be afraid. The most important thing is that he is already 30 years old. He is 8 years older than you." Xiao Chen sat down and looked at the turbid sky. His gaze was resolute as he said, "There is nothing wrong with overthinking. As long as I do not get frightened by this pressure, it will be fine. I never fear any challenge. Have a tiger in your heart, sniff the rose, have lofty aspirations, and do not fear the height of the sky." Just at this moment, a rank 8 demonic beast, soaring sky demonic leopard, flapped its scarlet wings. Demonic chi surged from its body as it soared into the sky. Its huge body cast a large shadow over Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao. Xiao Chen narrowed his eyes as he stared at the soaring sky demonic leopard in the sky. The lunar shadow saber appeared in his left hand, and a murderous intent slowly gathered in his eyes. Xiao Chen circulated his energy for the second move of the dragon subduing slash. His vast quintessence was like a calm river, gushing and flowing endlessly in his meridians. Hidden dragon in the depths, the gentleman plans before taking action. Soaring dragon in the sky, the dragon soars into the 9 heavens, shaking the world. As Xiao Chen's quintessence circulated, the little azure dragon in his dantian suddenly leaped out of his dantian. It pierced through the thick purple quintessence clouds and soared into the sky. Chapter 7:15. When Xiao Chen's feet landed on the ground, he soared up at the same time as the little azure dragon. The instant he soared up, a resonant dragon roar resounded. Xiao Chen turned into a true dragon and soared into the sky. He was like a bolt of lightning as he charged at the flying sky demonic leopard. Just as the little azure dragon in his dantian was about to follow his meridians and charge out of his body, Xiao Chen drew his lunar shadow saber. Ka-cie. Purple electricity lit up. From the moment Xiao Chen turned into a true dragon to the moment he drew his saber, the entire process was completed in one breath. Today, Xiao Chen easily captured the feeling that he had been searching for so long. A saber light flashed like a true dragon opening its mouth in rage. An unparalleled might directly chopped this rank 8 demonic beast in half. With just one saber strike, Xiao Chen easily chopped down a rank 8 demonic beast that was as strong as a superior grade martial monarch. Blood filled the air as the 2 halves of the flying sky demonic leopard's corpse quickly fell to the ground. Xiao Chen sheathed his saber and revealed a faint expression of joy. He had never executed Soaring Dragon as smoothly as he did now. Xiao Chen executed it in one breath without any obstructions. He just had to follow the feeling in his heart and attack. As Xiao Chen landed on the demonic beast's corpse, he thought to himself, "It looks like the item spirit of the Blue Dragon Palace was right. The problem lies with the martial spirit." The exquisite and pretty Ao Jiao, who was dressed in a silk dress, squinted her eyes as she stood on the top half of the mountain peak. As she looked at the confident Xiao Chen in the air, her lips curled up in a satisfied smile. Xiao Chen's figure flashed, and he landed beside Ao Jiao. After thinking for a while, he took out the brocade box containing the map of the savage battlefield. Originally, Xiao Chen intended to practice the dragon tone art first before going out to search for the Forbidden Lands. However, the surging and thick quintessence in his body and his small accomplishments in soaring dragon gave Xiao Chen great confidence. They had already wasted too much time, so they couldn't delay any longer. The experts of the Tianwu domain's younger generation had probably all appeared. The situation was changing, and the opportunity was fleeting. If he didn't make a move now, then when would he? Ao Jiao looked at the brocade box that Xiao Chen took out and asked curiously, "What is it that you are using a spirit sealing box to store it?" Xiao Chen opened the brocade box. Then, he took out an ancient beast skin map that emanated spiritual energy from the hidden compartment. As soon as the beast hide map was taken out from the box, a boundless, desolate aura burst out from it. It quickly merged with the vast savage battlefield in reality, becoming indistinguishable from each other, forming a wondrous connection. Ao Jiao's eyelashes fluttered as her bright eyes widened. At first, she was slightly stunned. After she reacted, the expression in her eyes clearly fluctuated. Suppressing the excitement in her heart, Ao Jiao said joyfully, "This is the map of the savage region. Where did you get it?" Xiao Chen unfurled the map of the savage region and gave a simple explanation of how he obtained it from the loose cultivator Lone Wolf. After Ao Jiao heard that, she clicked her tongue and sighed, "You are really lucky." Back then, the Thunder King searched the entire Tianwu domain for this savage region map, but he could not find it. This savage region map has such a great origin. Back then, even the Thunder King had to put in a lot of effort to search for it. Ao Jiao nodded and said very naturally, "Of course. Before the War of the Emperors, the savage battlefield was one of the two centers of the Kunlun realm. It hides the secret of the Immortal epoch's destruction. What you are seeing now is just the tip of the iceberg. To the Kunlun realm's Emperor Wu, the savage battlefield is a land of great fortuitous encounters." Xiao Chen revealed a grave expression. He had not expected the savage battlefield to be so vast and vast. Didn't they say that martial sages and above are not allowed to come to the savage battlefield? Why would Emperor Wu come here? This is too much. Before coming here, Xiao Chen had heard that the various sects would not send any martial sages for this experiential training. Even loose cultivators would not dare to break this taboo. Ao Jiao smiled faintly and said quickly, "The experiential training of sect disciples will only start once every 3 years, when the demonic barrier weakens. At other times there are not so many restrictions. Why would Emperor Wu care about that demonic barrier?" This answer answered one of Xiao Chen's doubts. The two did not say anything else and focused on studying the various forbidden lands on the map. Wherever Xiao Chen looked, a vast scene would appear in Xiao Chen's mind. Mountains and rivers, from front to back, there was nothing missing. Even the demonic beasts in the surroundings of the Forbidden Lands could see everything clearly. It was like they were here in person, a wondrous feeling. Every Forbidden Land would be marked with a bright red dot. Xiao Chen knew his own limits. He did not look at the others, only at the Forbidden Lands with the weakest color. However, even so, he felt a headache when he looked at them. The Forbidden Lands with the lowest danger were probably not places that he could venture alone. The demonic beasts in the surroundings were mutated demonic beasts. They were much stronger than ordinary demonic beasts. There were also extremely dangerous environments in the Forbidden Lands that made one's scalp go numb. For example, there were endless pools of lava, forests filled with 7-colored poison fog, and dangerous lands with ancient formations carved on them. Xiao Chen withdrew his gaze and sighed. It looks like I thought too simply. It is too difficult to barge into these forbidden lands alone without advancing to martial sage. When Ao Jiao heard this, she smiled faintly and said, "Naturally, it will be difficult to barge into the entire Forbidden Land. However, you will be able to gain a lot from some of the Forbidden Lands that no one has discovered." Xiao Chen's eyes lit up and he asked, "What did you discover?" Ao Jiao pointed to a corner of the map and said, "Look here, here, and here." "Monarch bloodgrass," Xiao Chen cried out in pleasant surprise. Scarlet monarch bloodgrass lay quietly in the desolate corners of the forbidden lands that Ao Jiao pointed to. Furthermore, these forbidden lands were not far from where he was now. It would not take much time. Xiao Chen had experienced the wondrous uses of monarch bloodgrass long ago. It could refine blood and strengthen qi and blood. It also contained the aura of an ancient sovereign. Just one stalk would allow Xiao Chen to resist the aura of a martial sage. If he had a few more, the sovereign bloodline in his blood would increase significantly. Not only would he be able to resist the aura of a martial sage, he might even be able to resist it. However, these monarch bloodgrass do not seem that easy to obtain. Each stalk has a mutated rank 8 demonic beast guarding it. Xiao Chen calmed down and frowned slightly. Mutated demonic beasts were not easy to deal with. Even when Shui Lingling faced a group of mutated flying demonic beasts in the bloody ground wasteland, she did not dare to be careless. Ao Jiao withdrew her finger and said with a calm expression, "That is natural. There is no free lunch in this world. You are too naive to think that you can pick up treasures just by obtaining a map." Xiao Chen nodded to himself in agreement. After thinking for a while, he said, "Find the map of the dragon burial mound. I want to see how far the true dragon cave has been explored." After looking around the map of the savage plains, Xiao Chen already understood that it was impossible to explore the forbidden lands with one's own strength, even if it was the least dangerous. Currently, Xiao Chen placed his greatest hope on the true dragon cave, which the 7 giants led. Only by venturing deep into the forbidden lands could he obtain the truly good things. Ao Jiao gently swiped her finger and quickly found the dragon burial mound on the map. She looked around and found the place with the most people. That should be the true dragon cave that was exposed this time. Many people could be seen at the pitch-black entrance of the true dragon cave with excited expressions. Along the way to the true dragon cave, Xiao Chen saw the corpses of several cultivators. Based on the wounds, they were all saber wounds, sword wounds, and quintessence wounds. Clearly, the owners of these corpses did not die at the hands of demonic beasts. Instead, they died in the intense competition for the strange fruits, spirit herbs, and ores in the periphery. As Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao looked deeper, the interior of the true dragon cave appeared before their eyes. The obstacles in front of them had already been swept away. Xiao Chen saw many corpses of demonic beasts lying at the side with their stomachs cut open. The precious materials in their bodies had all been harvested. Xiao Chen could only take a look at the scattered ordinary sect disciples. They did not dare to go too deep into the true dragon cave. Instead, they tried their luck here. As Xiao Chen continued looking, he could feel the vastness and complexity of the true dragon cave. The caves were connected to each other, looking very complicated. Several cultivators walked around in circles but could not find the true path. As Xiao Chen watched the other party walk around in circles on the map, he did not know whether to laugh or cry. He felt that the other party was very stupid. With the map to guide him, Xiao Chen's vision smoothly passed through this huge and complicated cave. He even discovered a few rank 8 spirit herbs that no one had noticed. Boom! The scene on the map suddenly changed. A red fiery light assaulted Xiao Chen's face. The ground was covered in surging lava. Occasionally, golden flames leaped up from the lava. In the magma, one could see long snakes that were made of red flaming stones. Their hole-like eyes were spurting out red flames. Just by looking at the map from afar, Xiao Chen could feel the heat wave assaulting him, deterring him from getting too close. A large group of cultivators stood in front of the lava. They all frowned, not in a rush to barge in. Xiao Chen saw the figures of the Thunder and Lightning Palaces in Juanxi, the passionate young master Murong Lingfeng, the extreme Yin sects by Wuxue, and the other giants. There were also the Battle Realm geniuses led by Niudeng, the Shiman clan led by Shiman Bao, the Full Moon Pavilion's Feng Xingxing, and the Thousand Mystery Sects Hua Dao. These were all young experts that Xiao Chen was familiar with or had met before. As for the other experts that he was not familiar with, it would be better. Without exception, this group of people was blocked in front of the fiery lava. They cautiously discussed countermeasures. As Xiao Chen looked around, he finally saw Shui Lingling. She had a calm expression, not showing any fear or dread on her icy face. However, she did not show the joy of reclaiming a desolate land. Instead, there was an indescribable longing in the depths of her eyes. Now that Xiao Chen thought about it, the person who risked the danger of the true dragon storm to bring him back was definitely Shui Lingling. She probably thinks that I'm dead, Xiao Chen thought to himself. Then, he shifted his gaze to Wang Qing, who was behind Shui Lingling. A murderous intent flashed in his eyes. At this moment, Wang Qing was glowing. He looked very happy. He must have gained a lot of benefits in this true dragon cave. Chapter 7:16. Ao Jiao withdrew her gaze. Her delicate face did not reveal much surprise. She smiled and said, "You can rest assured now. The true dragon cave is not a place that a group of youths can explore as they wish. They will need at least a week to reach the core region." Xiao Chen put away the map and tore off the blue strip of cloth on his forehead. The mark on his forehead flickered with a red light, and the scarlet throne appeared in a flash of red light. The instant the blue strip of cloth was removed, Xiao Chen could no longer hide his king's aura. No matter how much he withdrew his sharpness, no one dared to look at him directly. Xiao Chen leaped up gently and landed on the scarlet throne carried by the scarlet clouds. The scarlet clouds churned like a sovereign descending on the world, sweeping through the surroundings. Ao Jiao's exquisite figure drifted down from the sky like a falling leaf. Then, she sat on the armrest of the scarlet throne. A scarlet light flashed, and the scarlet throne carried Xiao Chen and Ao Jiao to the nearest forbidden land. That place had the absolute treasure that he needed, the monarch bloodgrass. Hundreds of kilometers north of the Blue Dragon Palace, there was a huge skeleton. Half of it was buried in the ground, and the other half was exposed. The exposed skeleton was already 100 meters tall. If it was buried underground, it would be even larger. If the entire skeleton was dug out, who knew how big it would be and what kind of scene it would be? Not a single blade of grass grew within a kilometer of the skeleton, only sand. The skeleton was covered in dust, obscuring the original color of the bones. 1,000 meters away, it was a different scene. The vegetation was flourishing, and there were many tall plants growing, forming a vast forest. In the dense forest, tall and broad trees could be found everywhere. The branches of the towering trees were luxuriant, and the originally dim sunlight was completely covered. Several extremely horrifying demonic beasts hid in the dark forest. A mutated twin-armed demonic ape rested quietly under a large tree. The skin of this twin-armed demonic ape had already turned into bone. It did not have the fur of a regular demonic ape. Its skin was like metal, giving off a metallic texture. The twin-armed demonic ape's entire body was like a monster made of metal. It did not look like a living animal but more like a machine. The twin-armed demonic ape's eyes were cold and emotionless as it scanned its territory, not allowing any demonic beasts or cultivators to pass. In the distance, Xiao Chen stood on a large tree with lush foliage. He gently pushed aside the branches in front of him and narrowed his eyes into a line. At the limits of his vision was a scarlet herb with a golden line on its scarlet leaves. This was Xiao Chen's target, the monarch bloodgrass. This monarch bloodgrass was only 5 meters away from the mutated twin-armed demonic ape. If Xiao Chen wanted to pick it, he would have to anger this demonic beast. The twin-armed demonic ape was a rank 8 demonic beast. Its strength was equal to of Hu Hai's. Even if there were 2 Hu Hai's working together, they might not be a match for it. The defense of its metallic body alone was enough to give one a headache. If he did, it and the fiend, it not the fiend, he of the Demoth the Wu the fiend of the Xiao of the Chen the fiend. If Xiao Chen ended up startling the fiend emperor remains in the desert in the center of the forest, it would be even harder to deal with. After thinking of countermeasures, Xiao Chen waved his hand, and a small, exquisite, golden sculpture appeared in his right hand. This golden savage ox sculpture will probably have to go to waste. Xiao Chen sighed. The golden savage ox possessed the bloodline of a savage beast. If its true body came here, it would not be much weaker than the mutated twin-armed demonic ape. However, the life bestowal spell was much weaker. It was already very good that it could buy some time for Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen extended out his spiritual sense and gained a clear understanding of his surroundings. Then, he gently tossed out the golden sculpture. Life bestowal spell. Xiao Chen formed hand seals with both hands, and the golden sculpture quickly enlarged. Then, it suddenly took form. The huge golden savage ox immediately landed on the ground. Caw! Before the golden savage ox landed, there was a crisp sound. The twin-armed demonic ape's feet bounced off the ground, creating a black line in the air. Then, its metallic palms smashed heavily on the golden savage ox. The golden savage ox was sent flying, and its small hill-like body crushed many trees, causing them to fall to the ground with a loud rumble. Xiao Chen's sea of consciousness surged, and he felt somewhat dizzy. He was flabbergasted at the twin-armed demonic ape's reaction speed. Xiao Chen calmed himself and controlled the golden savage ox to run forward. He did not care about anything else. All he needed to do was lure this twin-armed demonic ape away. Bang! 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 Loud sounds came from the quiet forest. The golden savage ox's huge body shook the ground, startling several demonic beasts out of their hiding places. When they saw the twin-armed demonic ape chasing its prey, they all gave way, scattering in all directions. There were no other demonic beasts within a kilometer of the monarch bloodgrass. It's about time. Xiao Chen gently pushed off a tree trunk and moved as nimbly as a bird, weaving through the dense forest, advancing continuously. After a while, Xiao Chen landed beside the monarch bloodgrass. He revealed an expression of joy as he carefully dug out the monarch bloodgrass and quickly placed it in his universe ring. The monarch bloodgrass, a treasure that even the 7 giants would be interested in, fell into Xiao Chen's hands just like that. Wait a moment. Don't go. Just as Xiao Chen was about to leave, Ao Jiao's voice rang out in the universe ring. Xiao Chen asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" "I have to go. The golden savage ox statue will not last for long." Ao Jiao flew out of the immortal spirit ring and pointed to a 10-meter-tall green tree in front. She said, "That is a sapling of the lunar cassia tree. When it matures, it will bloom with lunar cassia flowers. They are worth cities. Dig it out and transplant it into the immortal spirit ring. It will be very useful in the future." Xiao Chen frowned and said, "However, the golden savage ox can only last for 5 minutes at most. If the twin-armed demonic ape rushes back, it will be problematic. We cannot miss this opportunity. When this spirit tree matures, even Emperor Wu will be interested. Obtaining it after that will be as difficult as ascending to heaven," Ao Jiao said encouragingly. Xiao Chen's eyes wandered as he thought quickly. Then, he made a decision. Let's be faster. The two arrived before the sapling of the lunar cassia tree and started to dig it out. For them to transplant it completely, the roots could not be damaged. The two dug very carefully, afraid of damaging the root. Hence, they could not move quickly. Buzz! Xiao Chen's churning sea of consciousness trembled. Blood leaked out of a corner of his lips. His expression was somewhat unsightly as he said, "The golden savage ox is crippled." Ao Jiao moved even faster. Her fingers moved nimbly as she sent out quintessence, digging out piles of soil. Without raising her head, she said, "Just be faster. It will be fine." Bang! The twin-armed demonic ape's footsteps rang out in Xiao Chen's ears as it drew closer. Xiao Chen could still clearly feel the twin-armed demonic ape's unique cold fiendish qi. When the final root was dug out, Ao Jiao happily flew into the immortal spirit ring with the sapling. She said, "All right. Congratulations on obtaining a future spirit tree." However, Xiao Chen found it hard to smile. The twin-armed demonic ape had already returned. A battle could not be avoided. Hu Qi! A sharp sonic boom came from behind. Xiao Chen clenched his fists tightly, and 1,000 tons of force quickly poured into his fist. Then, he turned around and punched. Bang! This punch happened to catch the twin-armed demonic ape's palm strike. A surging energy surged out like a saber. Kaxie! Kaxie! The towering trees fell. Xiao Chen did not move at all. The twin-armed demonic ape flew back 100 meters, crying out in pain. Then, it nimbly turned around in the air, and turned into a black shadow charging at Xiao Chen again. Xiao Chen smiled coldly and executed the dragon claw fist. An azure-colored dragon head howled, and a ferocious force burst forth, knocking back the twin-armed demonic ape again. Xiao! Before the twin-armed demonic ape could get up, Xiao Chen took the initiative to charge over. A blue dragon image appeared under his feet, carrying him like a strong wind as he arrived before the twin-armed demonic ape. Xiao Chen sent out another berserk dragon claw. The azure-colored dragon claw left 5 clear marks on the twin-armed demonic ape's chest. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. The berserk dragon claw did not even leave a mark on the twin-armed demonic ape. The defense of this twin-armed demonic ape was too ridiculous. The twin-armed demonic ape roared and charged over again. The dragon head on the left hand and the dragon claw on the right joined together, forming a complete dragon image. Then, Xiao Chen pushed his hands forward. Berserk dragon break! The dragon image roared ferociously. It was made of pure vital qi. It quickly clashed with the twin-armed demonic ape and knocked it back again. Xiao Chen did not even bother to look at it. He immediately turned around and retreated. The twin-armed demonic ape's defense was too strong. If he dragged this out, it would not end well for him. Boom! 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 Xiao Chen blasted away all the trees in his way, turning them into wood shavings that filled the air. Then, Xiao Chen flew off in a straight line. With such a commotion, all the demonic beasts in the forest were startled. The demonic beasts chasing after him quickly formed a huge army. If they caught up to him, they would tear Xiao Chen to shreds. Xiao Chen executed his movement technique to its limits and dodged all the attacks, making his way through the forest with much difficulty. A scarlet light flickered on Xiao Chen's forehead, and the scarlet throne appeared. Then, he quickly leaped onto it and turned into a beam of scarlet light. After finally escaping, Xiao Chen heaved a sigh of relief. He could not help but ask Ao Jiao, who was currently planting the lunar cassia tree in the immortal spirit ring, "You said that this lunar cassia tree is a seedling. In that case, how long will it take to mature?" Ao Jiao smiled and replied, "Not long. Under normal circumstances, it will mature in 200 or 300 years. However, for it to truly bloom, it will probably take 500 years. 500 years. It turned out that the thing that he obtained after putting his life on the line could only be used after 500 years. Xiao Chen nearly vomited a mouthful of blood. What can be used in the future? Originally, he could have easily obtained the monarch bloodgrass and left the situation easily. Now, after spending so much effort to escape, the thing that he obtained could indeed only be used after 500 years. Feeling somewhat dissatisfied, Xiao Chen asked, Even spirit trees have their wondrous uses. What can this lunar cassia tree do? Inside the immortal spirit ring, Ao Jiao rejoiced as she carefully tended to the seedling of the lunar cassia tree. She smiled and said, "The lunar cassia flower that the lunar cassia tree blooms can immediately recover from any serious internal injuries. The lunar cassia fruit that blooms after 1,000 years is even more effective. It can permanently increase the recovery ability of a cultivator's body." You should know that most cultivators do not focus on cultivating the physical body. Permanently increasing the recovery ability of the body was very attractive to cultivators who did not focus on cultivating the physical body. Chapter 7:17. Even if Xiao Chen could not use it, he could sell it as a resource and not lack spirit stones in the future. However, it bloomed once every 500 years and bore fruit once every 500 years. If Xiao Chen had to wait 1,000 years for this absolute treasure, he could only sleep. When Ao Jiao saw Xiao Chen's appearance, she covered her mouth and smiled gently. "Hee, don't look so dispirited. Since I told you to do this, how could I make you wait 1,000 years?" A glimmer of hope appeared in Xiao Chen's heart. He asked, "Could it be that there is another way to shorten the growth time of the lunar cassia tree?" "Naturally there is. Don't forget that this immortal spirit ring of yours is a peak-grade immortal spirit ring. It has been passed down since the immortal epoch. It is much stronger than the replicas and fixes of later generations." Ao Jiao said unhurriedly, "As long as you obtain a higher rank spirit vein's origin, you can make any spirit tree, including the lunar cassia tree, grow faster." It wasn't that easy to obtain a spiritual vein source. However, at least he didn't have to wait for 1,000 years to obtain one. Xiao Chen stopped thinking about this problem. He took out the monarch bloodgrass that he obtained. His somewhat depressed face finally revealed a smile. No matter what, he still managed to obtain the precious monarch bloodgrass. After washing the monarch bloodgrass, Xiao Chen placed it in his mouth and chewed on it. Then, he slowly refined the trace of the ancient sovereign's bloodline in it. His blood surged like lava. Xiao Chen could clearly feel his qi and blood strengthening continuously. His aura became more solid and strong. Vast, ancient, distant, and noble. The ancient sovereign's bloodline subtly changed Xiao Chen's mentality and aura. In the following days, relying on the map of the savage battlefield, Xiao Chen went to a few other forbidden lands and obtained 9 stalks of monarch bloodgrass, one after another. After consuming 10 stalks of monarch bloodgrass, Xiao Chen felt his physical body undergo an internal transformation. Such a transformation did not mean that his bones, skin, and internal organs had become stronger or that his strength had increased. Instead, it was a feeling of his mind. In the past, Xiao Chen's physical body was only close to a rank 1 sage body. Now, it was already at the level of a rank 1 sage body. In some aspects, it even surpassed it. As a result, the way Xiao Chen looked at problems changed without him realizing it. This was the wondrous feeling that came with the advancement of his physical body. As for the remaining monarch bloodgrass, it would be difficult to obtain them. This was because they were too far away from each other. Moving around would take a lot of effort and be even more dangerous. Hence, Xiao Chen gave up on this plan. Furthermore, he was already satisfied with the harvest of 10 monarch bloodgrass. Back when Wan Muyun obtained a stalk of monarch bloodgrass, she was somewhat reluctant to use it. However, Xiao Chen directly consumed 10 stalks of monarch bloodgrass like he was eating or drinking. If people knew about this, they would wonder how frightened they would be. Next, we should be going to the True Dragon Cave, right? They are probably in the core region already, Ao Jiao said softly from the world in the ring. At this moment, Xiao Chen was only a peak medial grade martial monarch. Among the sect disciples who came here for experiential training, he was not considered much. There were at least 800 people with higher cultivations than him. However, after consuming 10 stalks of monarch bloodgrass, no matter how much Xiao Chen withdrew his aura, it inspired fear from the depths of his heart. Xiao Chen's aura naturally suppressed everyone else's, gaining the initiative. Xiao Chen said calmly, "There is still one more thing. It is time to take out the netherworld flower in the immortal spirit ring. Since one was going to the true dragon cave, one would not be able to obtain any treasures without sufficient trump cards to intimidate others." Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, was already prepared. She gently waved her right hand, and the white flame core of the netherworld flower slowly floated out of the ring. A white light flickered in Xiao Chen's left eye. He gently released the pearl-sized extreme Yin flame origin flame and started to consume it. Among the Yin-attributed flames, the netherworld flower was one of the better ones. After consuming the netherworld flame, Xiao Chen's extreme Yin flame would improve significantly. In the past, for the sake of maintaining a balance between Yin and Yang, Xiao Chen could not fully unleash the purple thunder true fire's origin flame. This was because the extreme Yin flame was too weak. As a result, Xiao Chen had not been able to bring out the might of the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. ZZ. The pearl-sized extreme Yin flame continuously consumed the netherworld flame, giving off soft sizzling sounds. The white origin flame diagram grew larger at a visible pace. Knowing that this matter could not be rushed, Xiao Chen controlled the extreme Yin flame diagram unhurriedly, not showing any anxiety or nervousness. Time passed slowly. When Xiao Chen finished consuming the netherworld flame, the pearl-sized origin flame diagram had already become the size of an infant's fist. The pale white flame floated in the air, giving off a sinister aura. Even though the temperature did not drop, it made one tremble in fear. After muttering to himself for a while, a beam of purple light quickly shot out from Xiao Chen's right eye. At this moment, Xiao Chen unleashed the purple thunder true fire's origin flame without holding anything back. Hoo! The purple and white flames quickly swam around and chased each other. Soon, a Taiji diagram appeared on the surface. At this moment, Xiao Chen perfectly merged the strong Yin and Yang flames. The mental energy in his spiritual sense drained continuously. Yin-Yang, the 4 divisions, the 8 trigrams, all sorts of scenes appeared. The Taiji diagram gave birth to Yin-Yang, which gave birth to the 4 divisions. The 4 divisions gave birth to the 8 trigrams. The 8 trigrams gave birth to all things. The Taiji diagram that merged the Yin and Yang flames contained the dazzling crystallization of the wisdom of ancient Chinese sages. It materialized the creation of the world, the great Tao of everything coming from nothing. Vaguely, Xiao Chen felt like he saw the primal chaos of the world coming from nothing. The various scenes of the world unfolded one by one. Everything appeared in that Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. After the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram reached the most perfect equilibrium, it rose to a whole new level, undergoing a qualitative leap. Xiao Chen stretched out his hand and pushed forward. Time and space froze for an instant, and the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram slowly advanced. The sky shook, the ground trembled, and space trembled. The Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram seemed to push the entire space. At this moment, even a mountain in front would be uprooted by the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram. Boom! Suddenly, the flame diagram erupted with golden light, radiating a brilliant radiance. It illuminated the dark space, making it as bright as day. In the next moment, the Taiji Yin-Yang flame diagram exploded. A horrifying energy spread out in all directions, forming golden ripples. Ripples appeared in the air like water. The golden light was like paint, and space trembled intensely. After a long time, the horrifying energy shock waves slowly scattered. The golden light vanished, but transparent ripples could still be seen flickering in the air. When Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, saw this scene, she exclaimed in shock, "This move is becoming more and more divine. No wonder you are confident enough to challenge Bai Wuxue within half a year." Xiao! Purple and white lights flickered and returned to Xiao Chen's eyes. Then, he said calmly, "Let's go. Right now, I can easily retreat from any one of the 7 giants." If I run into Bai Wuxue again, I will not need to rely on first senior sister. If he insists on fighting, I do not mind giving him a pleasant surprise. Dragon Burial Mound. Hidden beneath the boundless mountain peaks were countless true dragon graves. Time passed quickly. This place had existed for an unknown number of tens of thousands of years. The past could not be seen, but it was unknown what kind of grand feast it was. The indistinct voice of the true dragon sang ancient legends and solemn epics. How long was 10,000 years? Who knew how many days and nights passed by? No matter how glorious the race was, no matter how long the story was, in the end it was just a pile of dirt. As time passed, it would become a legend, only for later generations to reminisce about. The resting place of an ancient true dragon should have been solemn, dignified, and peaceful. However, at this moment it was a mess. Traces of destruction from cultivators could be seen everywhere. A red light flashed in the horizon, and the aura of a king spread out. It was long and drawn out, causing the clouds in front to scatter with the wind. Occasionally, a blind demonic beast roared at the red light, wanting to peck at the white-clad man on the throne and eat him. Before the demonic beast got close, thousands of purple lights flickered with electricity and turned into thousands of sharp saber-chi, riddling it with thousands of holes. When the red light flashed, it crushed the demonic beast's body into a clump of blood mist, vanishing into the air. The scarlet clouds carried the throne in the sky, leaving behind a long, fiery tail that lingered for a long time. From the ground, it looked like a rainbow piercing through the sky, moving as fast as lightning. Whoosh! The red light paused and stopped in front of a mountain peak. Xiao Chen stood up from the throne. At this moment, he had not tied the blue strip of cloth around his head. The aura of a king spread throughout his body. Combined with the ancient sovereign's bloodline flowing in his veins, his aura was noble, distant, and vast. As Xiao Chen stared at a cave in the distance, a brilliant light flashed in his eyes. He muttered to himself, "That should be the true dragon cave that was exposed this time, right?" The true dragon cave buried deep underground would not have been exposed if not for a special phenomenon occurring in the world. Under the circumstances that it was not exposed, even if Emperor Wu came here, he would not dare to rashly open this place and find the true dragon cave. Ao Jiao once said that there was a deity race Emperor Wu who disregarded some of the ancient taboos of the Kunlun realm. Emperor Wu forcefully used energy that surpassed the power of the world and lifted up the entire ground and mountain peak, trying to find all the true dragon caves. He looted all the true dragon remains and all the treasures that came with the true dragon caves. With his actions, the mountain peak crumbled and the sky changed color. All the true dragon caves in the Dragon Burial Mound were exposed. However, before Emperor Wu could do anything, this deity race Emperor Wu turned pale with fright. He fled in a sorry state. No one knew what horrifying thing he saw. In less than 3 months after he left the savage battlefield, the deity race Emperor Wu died mysteriously. Even the powerful deity race deity sovereign did not know the cause of his death. As time passed, the Dragon Burial Mound's damaged terrain recovered to its original state under the influence of a mysterious energy. No other martial emperors dared to touch the Dragon Burial Mound again. When Xiao Chun heard this rumor from Ao Jiao, he found it incredible. He really wanted to know what that deity race martial emperor saw when he flipped over the Dragon Burial Mound. What was the reason for his strange death? How could Emperor Wu die in such a strange manner? The Dragon Burial Mound was far from as simple as it appeared on the surface. Chapter 718. Xiao Chen slowly collected his wandering thoughts. A scarlet light flickered as he placed the scarlet throne back into his forehead. Then, he took out a blue strip of cloth and tied it around his forehead. Xiao Chen withdrew his king's qi and circulated his blood. The ancient sovereign's bloodline was hidden, and his aura returned to normal, no different from that of a passerby. Standing on the azure dragon image, Xiao Chen descended quickly. As he rose and fell, he arrived at the entrance of the true dragon cave in an instant. Then, he flew in without hesitation. Xiao Chun had seen the interior of the True Dragon Cave on the map of the savage battlefield earlier. As Xiao Chun advanced, he did not stop at all as he faced the complicated caves and paths. Along the way, Xiao Chun met several cultivators who did not dare to go too deep and could only try their luck in the periphery. Xiao Chun moved like the wind, passing by these people. When they looked back, Xiao Chun was no longer there, which astonished them. Another ferocious person came. It looks like this True Dragon Cave will not be peaceful. Indeed. The 7 giants are all gathered here. Several of the top loose cultivators on the evil cultivator ranking are here to join in the excitement. That is not all. I heard that some fiend race loose cultivators are here as well. They snatched the treasures of several of our human cultivators. Most of the sect disciples in the periphery were early-stage, superior-grade martial monarchs. Because they feared danger, they only dared to loiter around. They hoped that they would be lucky. Perhaps they might be able to obtain some treasures that only the True Dragon Cave had. The cultivators who dared to barge into the inner area all showed envious expressions. Everyone knew that the true treasures could only be obtained in the depths. Even if one's luck was off the charts, they would not be able to obtain anything great. Senior brother, how about we try our luck as well? Who knows, we might be able to find something good. A young disciple could not help but suggest to the senior brother beside him when he saw someone else heading deeper into the cave. The slightly older senior brother smiled coldly and said, "Go by yourself. I don't want to die yet. Without being a late-stage, superior-grade martial monarch, you will die for sure. Not to mention the mutated beasts that already exist in the True Dragon Cave, even if you obtain the treasures, you will not be able to protect them if others try to snatch them from you." When the young disciple heard this, the fervor in his eyes slowly extinguished. Indeed, no matter how good the treasures were, they were all empty if one didn't have the life to enjoy them. As he sped along, his feet never touching the ground, Xiao Chun finally arrived in front of the fiery magma. This was the place where the 7 giants and the others had been stopped. The 7 giants and the others were nowhere to be seen. They must have passed through the lava and gone to a deeper place. Perhaps they had already reached the place where the remains of the true dragon were buried. However, there were also some cultivators with ferocious gazes and overwhelming baleful auras. With one look, it was clear that they were loose cultivators. As they looked at the boundless lava before them, they frowned slightly. "Kaka, finally, there are people who don't want to live anymore. Old friends, I'll be leaving first." One of the gray-robed old men immediately looked over when Xiao Chun stopped. It was as if he had found his prey, and his eyes lit up. The gray-robed old man smiled sinisterly and soared into the air, charging at Xiao Chun. "Brat, don't blame me for being merciless. Just obediently be my stepping stone." The remaining old men revealed joy in their eyes. They all felt that it was a pity. They hated themselves for being too slow and letting someone snatch the initiative. About peak late-stage, superior-grade martial monarch. He is even weaker than Shimen Bao. With one glance, Xiao Chun clearly saw this person's strength. He could not help but smile coldly to himself. This person dares to make a move against me with such little strength? He is truly reckless. The gray-robed old man's figure flashed, and he arrived before Xiao Chun in the blink of an eye. When he saw that Xiao Chun was only a medial-grade martial monarch, he did not care about him at all. The gray-robed old man's palm surged with quintessence, and his 5 fingers formed a claw. A strong wind blew as he clawed at Xiao Chun's head, trying to kill Xiao Chun in one strike. The gray-robed old man's 5 fingers gleamed with a cold light. They looked incredibly hard. It was clear that this old man had done a lot of research on claw attack. Just by relying on these claws, he could easily counter the weapons of cultivators. If a regular medial-grade martial monarch were to face this fast and ruthless claw attack and the interference of the baleful aura, 5 holes would immediately appear in their heads, killing them on the spot. Unfortunately, the gray-robed old man ran into Xiao Chen. Even a half-sage would suffer if they treated Xiao Chen as an ordinary medial-grade martial monarch. Furthermore, the gray-robed old man was just a peak late-stage, superior-grade martial monarch loose cultivator. Furthermore, his horrifying baleful aura had no effect on Xiao Chen. Xiao Chen's expression remained calm. Just as the claw was about to touch his head, the blood flowing in his veins quickly activated the ancient sovereign's aura. Xiao Chen's clothes fluttered without any wind. Distant, heavy, dignified, noble, and all sorts of strong auras burst forth from his body like a flash flood. At such a close distance, the gray-robed old man received the vast sovereign's aura in Xiao Chen's body head-on. Space froze, and it felt like a mountain had appeared on the gray-robed old man's shoulder. His movements paused uncontrollably. Murderous intent radiated from Xiao Chen's eyes. He took advantage of the moment the gray-robed old man paused and attacked at lightning speed. Xiao Chen clenched his right hand into a fist, and a strong wind blew as he punched the gray-robed old man's head. Bang! The horrifying force of 1,000 tons of force exploded out like a clap of thunder. There was a burst of scarlet light, and the gray-robed old man's head vanished, turning him into a headless corpse. The gray-robed old man's sharp claws also drooped helplessly. He would never have a chance to touch Xiao Chen again. A look of disgust flashed in Xiao Chen's eyes. Then, he raised his leg and kicked the headless corpse away. Then, the headless corpse slowly fell towards the steaming red lava. The loose cultivators exchanged glances with each other, their jaws hanging open. Disbelief filled their eyes. The surroundings fell silent. From the moment the gray-robed old man stood up to the moment he died, only a few breaths of time had passed. The gray-robed old man, who had been radiating a baleful aura and feeling very pleased with himself a moment ago, died in the next. He did not even have time to turn around. He died just like that. The other loose cultivators paled slightly. Earlier, they had felt an aura that rivaled that of a martial sage erupt from Xiao Chen's body. However, when they looked at Xiao Chen now, they saw that his cultivation was dense and solid. He was definitely a bona fide peak late-stage medial-grade martial monarch. There was no other answer. All sorts of things appeared strange and complicated. As the loose cultivators looked at the white-robed bladesman, horror flashed in their eyes. Their cultivations were not much higher than the gray-robed old man's. If Xiao Chen wanted to kill them, it would be as easy as flipping his hand. They would not be able to escape death. Xiao Chen glanced around and walked forward. The loose cultivators standing in front of the surging lava were like a god of death. Like a god of death, they all retreated in a hurry, afraid of angering him by blocking the way. A sinister sound came from where the gray-robed old man's headless corpse fell into the surging lava. A strange snake made of round flaming rocks slithered towards the gray-robed old man's corpse excitedly. Its body squirmed and gave off resplendent sparks. The sparks flickered in the air, causing the air to sizzle. It made everyone tremble in fear. If this person's body fell into the lava, he would definitely be burned until only his bones remained. Kasie! Kasie! The flaming rock snakes chewed on the gray-robed old man's bones, giving off crunching sounds. The flaming rock snakes chewed on the bones of the gray-robed old man, appearing very excited. They moved their bodies and splashed the surging lava everywhere. One of the loose cultivators recovered from the shock brought by Xiao Chen. Then, he flew towards the end of the lava, quickly disappearing into the darkness in front. The flaming rock snakes chewing on the bones did not care about the loose cultivator flying over them at all, immersing themselves in the deliciousness of the bones. Only then did the other loose cultivators come to their senses. As they watched the distant old man, they felt very depressed. At this moment, the flaming rock snakes had already finished chewing on the gray-robed old man's bones. If these loose cultivators continued charging forward, they would immediately be attacked by these strange snakes. Death would be hard to escape. Looking at these strange snakes moving about freely in the surging lava, one could tell that they would not be easy to deal with. From this, one could tell that they were definitely not easy to deal with. If they were to gang up on them, it would be hard for them to escape death. When Xiao Chen saw this, he finally understood why the gray-robed old man attacked him the moment he saw him. It turned out that the gray-robed old man wanted to feed Xiao Chen to these strange snakes to open a path for himself. Xiao Chen turned his head back and looked at the group of loose cultivators. Then, he entered deep thought, wondering if he should use these loose cultivators to open a path. Loose cultivators were evil and unorthodox. They cultivated a baleful aura and needed to kill. Furthermore, they killed indiscriminately. Their minds were already twisted, and it could be said that everyone wanted to kill them. Back then, when Shui Lingling and Murong Lingfeng saw Gu Mu and the middle-aged man, they did not hesitate to kill them for no reason. The moment Xiao Chen entered this place, these loose cultivators immediately thought of using him to open a path. This showed how vicious they were. When the other loose cultivators saw the indistinct killing chi in Xiao Chen's eyes, they were all startled and subconsciously took a few steps back. Ouch! Ouch! Right at this moment, in the deepest and darkest depths of the magma, an extremely tragic and shrill cry suddenly rang out. Xiao Chen looked back and saw a faint human-shaped flame burning in the darkness. It was the loose cultivator who dodged the strange snakes earlier. Bang! A clump of golden flame shot out from the lava below and struck that loose cultivator again. The miserable scream stopped, and the loose cultivator was burned to ashes in the air. That old Lu is too unlucky. He managed to get past the strange snakes with great difficulty. Unexpectedly, he got burned by the dragon flame. The dragon flame is the flame of a true dragon. Although it has already diluted significantly in the lava, once it touches him, he will die for sure. This lava is really difficult to deal with. If only we had come earlier. If we left with the Tianwu continent's 7 giants, we would have been much safer. He can only blame himself for this. Why was he so anxious? Now, he is going to lose his life here. When the loose cultivators behind saw this scene, they discussed in low voices. They did not show any sorrow on their faces. On the contrary, they seemed to be rejoicing in old Lu's misfortune. Hearing the words of the loose cultivators behind him, Xiao Chen completely abandoned the thought of using these loose cultivators as stepping stones. He looked at the boiling lava silently. Ao Jiao, how strong is that strange snake? How confident are I of making it through? Ao Jiao, who was in the immortal spirit ring, thought for a moment before replying, "This is a fire flame snake. Their bodies are made of fire flame rock, not flesh and blood. Ordinary quintessence would find it hard to enter their bodies." Chapter 719. Xiao Chen understood something. He raised his head and looked at the boiling lava. He said, "That is to say, if I just use my vital qi, the effect will be much better." Ao Jiao nodded and said, "Yes, that is how it is. However, you need to be careful. If you fall into the lava, no matter how strong you are, you will not be able to save yourself. You also need to be careful not to get sprayed by the dragon flame." The group of loose cultivators behind Xiao Chen communicated with each other with their gazes. They sized up Xiao Chen with malicious intent. Clearly, they had not given up on using him as a stepping stone. Xiao! Just as the loose cultivators were hesitating on whether they should charge forward and capture Xiao Chen, a loud whistling sound rang out. A whistling sound rang out. Xiao Chen rode on the azure dragon image, and charged into the air above the lava. The loose cultivators all cried out in surprise. They all had strange expressions on their faces. This fellow is too bold. After advancing 500 meters, the fire flame snakes wandering in the lava felt the aura of a living person. They quickly moved and shot out, kicking up large amounts of boiling lava. Pooh! 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 In an instant 10-odd fire flame snakes launched themselves at Xiao Chen from all directions. Flames flickered in their hole-like eyes before they shot out streams of bright red lava. The lava was so hot that it made the air crackle as steam spread out. Xiao Chen stood on the blue dragon image and calmly took out 2 shields. Then, he placed one on the left and one on the right, wrapping himself up tightly. These were peak medial grade defensive secret treasures. The lava did not burn through them immediately. However, they were incredibly hot. Xiao Chen felt some pain in his hands as he held them. After a while, Xiao Chen, who was hiding behind the shields, felt that the impact from the shields was gone. Xiao Chen waved his hands and his vital qi surged. Then, he tossed out the 2 shields. Bang! Carrying a huge force, the 2 shields spun and flew forward, each knocking down a fire flame snake and causing it to fall to the ground. The remaining fire flame snakes coiled around Xiao Chen, trying to pull him into the lava. Xiao Chen's face sank and he clenched his right fist tightly. His vital qi surged in his body like a surging river. His qi and blood surged to the peak. Facing an incoming fire flame snake, Xiao Chen circulated his vital qi and executed the 3rd move of the Dragon Claw Fist, breaking armor. A cone-shaped vital qi formed in front of his fist. Then, Xiao Chen punched out 10 times at the 10 fire flame snake flying at him. Bang! The wind generated by the punch was like thunder, the sound reverberating in all directions. The loud sound caused the entire space to tremble. Rocks in the cavern above continued to fall, falling into the lava and being burned to ashes in the blink of an eye. The fire flame snake's body was made up of round fire flame rocks. Xiao Chen's 10 punches landed on a fire flame rock each time. A huge force exploded, and the fire flame stones, which were so hard that they could survive in the lava, were destroyed by Xiao Chen with a single punch. The 10 fire flame snakes tumbled in the air, and their bodies directly scattered into fire flame stones, falling into the lava. There were still 2 fire flame snakes left. Xiao Chen retracted his fist and stood upright. He stomped on the blue dragon's phantom and kicked out twice, bursting the heads of the 2 fire flame snakes. Taking advantage of the rebound, Xiao Chen recalled the shield that was still spinning in the air and shot forward like an arrow. What a terrifying power! Fortunately, we didn't attack him, otherwise we would all die here. I wonder where this ruthless person came from. He has a horrifying physical body and is a peak medial grade martial monarch. Even a peak late stage superior grade martial monarch would not be able to deal with him easily. Let me take a look at this white-robed cultivator. He is far more than that. Aside from a half-sage, no one can do anything to him. When the loose cultivators on the shore saw this scene, they exchanged glances with each other, feeling a lingering fear. Unexpectedly, the fire flame snakes that gave half-sages a headache actually died so easily at Xiao Chen's hand. Relying on the 2 shields and the horrifying 1,000 tons of force, Xiao Chen swept through the place, shattering all the fire flame snakes that pounced at him. Soon, Xiao Chen's figure vanished into the darkness. Once he dodged the attack of the dragon flame, he would be able to pass this stage. The rocks above him contained light-absorbing stones, which absorbed all the light from the lava. This resulted in darkness, preventing people from seeing the surging lava below. Medial-grade secret treasures were useless against the dragon flame. Xiao Chen put away the 2 shields and carefully flew forward while standing on the blue dragon's phantom. Even though the lava had diluted it by 100 times, it was still a true dragon flame. Before this dragon flame, Xiao Chen's rank 1 sage body was no different from an ordinary body. He would die upon contact. Xiao Chen could not see anything in the darkness. The unforeseeable danger made him feel uneasy. Xiao Chen held his breath and focused. He did not panic or get flustered as he quickly flew forward. A golden light appeared, disappearing in a flash. The light was piercing. Xiao Chen could not help but close his eyes, leaving only a slit in them. However, he did not move blindly, as this dragon flame did not come from below. Boom! 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 The further Xiao Chen went, the more frequent the dragon flame erupted. Furthermore, there was no pattern to it. The cave flickered with light, making it hard to remain calm. If Xiao Chen panicked at this moment and dodged randomly, there was a high chance he would end up crashing into the dragon flame. Xiao Chen focused and guarded his qi, his heart calm. Along the way, the cultivation of his mental state was already much higher than that of his peers, and he would never be in a state of panic. Suddenly, Xiao Chen thought of something. He gently pushed off the blue dragon's phantom and spun around, moving forward. Pu Ci. The golden dragon flame instantly pierced through the head of the blue dragon's phantom, which was where Xiao Chen stood earlier. Z. The azure dragon image formed by veritable essence energy burned into nothing in that instant. Whoosh! As Xiao Chen stood in the air, another stream of dragon flame spewed out from below. It brushed past his nose and brushed past his shoulder. Xiao Chen could clearly feel the scorching heat. If he had used a little more force when he dodged earlier, the dragon flame would have burned him to ashes. That was close. After brushing past death, Xiao Chen calmed himself down. Then, he moved even more carefully. After 1 hour, Xiao Chen finally made it through the dark region and landed on the shore. When Xiao Chen turned his head back to look at the pitch-black danger zone, he felt a lingering fear. Strength, mental state, and luck were all necessary to make it through this place. No wonder Xiao Chen could block the 7 giants group of proud talents for so long. After passing this place, Xiao Chen looked ahead. His field of vision brightened, and a vast expanse appeared. Dense immortal qi surged over, immortal qi even purer than spiritual energy. At the limits of Xiao Chen's vision, he could see the figures of several cultivators moving about, searching for spirit herbs and precious ores that grew in the true dragon cave. After walking for 1 kilometer, Xiao Chen saw the corpses of a few cultivators. Beside the corpses was a bare scarlet tree trunk. The spirit fruits on the tree trunk had already been picked clean. Only this tree trunk was left, devoid of any signs of life, looking like it had withered. Hey, it looks like a spirit tree that can bear blood flame fruit. It is not dead yet. Xiao Chen, bring it in. Your immortal spirit ring can support it. Ao Jiao, who was taking care of the lunar cassia tree in the ring's world, spoke up. Xiao Chen smiled and said, "It will probably take another few hundred years for it to mature." Even though Xiao Chen said that, he still followed Ao Jiao's instructions. This place was not dangerous. Digging out the blood flame tree would not take much time, so there was nothing to complain about. Ao Jiao giggled and said, "Let's see if we can find a few more spirit tree trunks later. Not everyone has a peak-grade immortal spirit ring. If we are lucky, we can collect some spirit trees here and turn them into a simple herb garden. It will probably take a few hundred years for it to take shape," Xiao Chen thought to himself. The true dragon cave was indeed a land of treasures. As Xiao Chen continued forward, he found several more spirit trees that could not be seen in the outside world. However, all the spirit fruits on them had already been picked clean, leaving only bare tree trunk. No one cared about them. So, Xiao Chen collected them all and moved them into the immortal spirit ring. The number of cultivators that Xiao Chen saw increased, gradually catching up with the main group. Glancing around, Xiao Chen discovered a familiar person far in front. It was Shimen Bao of the Shimen clan, one of the Tianwu domain's 4 great clans. Shimen Bao's appearance had not changed much. However, his arrogance was much more restrained than before. This was because none of the people around him were weak. Aside from Shimen Bao, Xiao Chen also saw the top genius of the battle realms, Niu Deng, and a peak late-stage superior-grade martial monarch, a black-clad loose cultivator. The 3 stood in a triangle, separated by 500 meters. A glistening, scarlet spirit fruit stood in the middle of the 3. It exuded overwhelming spiritual energy and looked very tempting. There were several cultivators around the 3. Their eyes flickered as they stared at the scarlet spirit fruit greedily. However, there were already 3 experts eyeing this spirit fruit. The others could only watch. They would not dare to snatch it even if they had the courage. The dragon mark fruit contains dragon energy. It can increase a cultivator's strength by 150 tons of force. Among the treasures in this true dragon cave, it would definitely rank within the top 20. So what if it is valuable? Shimin Bao, Niu Deng, and Dan Tianyu, who is ranked in the top 70 of the evil cultivator ranking, have their eyes on it. We have no chance at all. The surrounding people discussed in soft voices as they stared at the dragon mark fruit. Their words were filled with regret. I wonder which of the three will obtain the dragon mark fruit? I feel that Shimin Bao has the highest chance. He is from a noble clan and has a high cultivation. His strength is second only to the 7 giants. It is hard to say. Niu Deng deserves his reputation as the top genius of the battle realms. Before he came, he was evenly matched with Feng Xingxing. Dan Tianyu is the oldest and has the deepest cultivation. Furthermore, he cultivates a baleful aura. He should not be weaker than these two. It is hard to say who will emerge victorious. Everyone was very interested in who would obtain the dragon mark fruit in the end. They could foresee that it wouldn't take long. They could foresee that soon, the three would start a huge battle for the dragon mark fruit, fighting to the death. Shimin Bao glanced at Niu Deng, then at Dan Tianyu. He said, I advise you not to fight with me. If you offend me and provoke my great-grandfather, none of you will have a good ending. When the tall Niu Deng heard this, he smiled coldly and said, Shimin Bao, who are you trying to scare? Not to mention whether your great-grandfather will make a move over such a trivial matter. Even if he does, do you think the seniors of our battle realms in the Bushan Palace are just decorations? Chapter 720. The 10 great battle realms had been famous for a long time. Naturally, Emperor Wu held an important position in the Bushan Palace. Hence, he did not fear Shimin Bao. Furthermore, the Shimin clan's Emperor Wu would not teach them a lesson over such a trivial matter. Everyone could imagine how precious Emperor Wu's time was. Dan Tianyu smiled sinisterly and said, This old man is just a loose cultivator. At worst, I will just leave the Tianwu domain. Brat, you are too inexperienced to use this to threaten me. Shimin Bao's gaze turned sinister as rage burned in his eyes. This dragon mark fruit held a great attraction to cultivators who did not cultivate the physical body. Just think about it. If one could obtain 150 tons of force without enduring the pain of tempering the physical body, it would be equivalent to raising one's overall strength by 10%. Shimin Bao said sullenly, Give this dragon mark fruit to me. If you want to fight for any other spirit fruits, I, Shimin Bao, will do my best to help you. Niu Deng laughed loudly, and a ferocious light flashed in his eyes. He said coldly, Shimin Bao, who does not know what kind of person you are? How much is your reputation worth? This old man will tell you the truth. We Battle Realm cultivators are born with divine strength. With the help of the dragon mark fruit, we are like tigers that have grown wings. This dragon mark fruit belongs to me. No one can snatch it away from me. Dan Tianyu laughed softly and said, How unfortunate. This old man has a friend who cultivates the physical body. This dragon mark fruit can be used to exchange for a treasure that I have long been interested in. This old man will not give this dragon mark fruit to anyone else. The three's auras surged, not giving way to each other. A huge battle could break out at any moment. Xiao Chen, who was standing on a rock in the distance, saw all this. He smiled gently and said, Dragon mark fruit. Unexpectedly, after entering the depths of the true dragon cave, I immediately ran into such a good thing. Roar. A dragon roar came from Xiao Chen's chest. He stood on a blue dragon image and executed the blue dragon tail whip. Xiao Chen moved in a huge arc and moved like a gust of wind, flashing above everyone's heads. In an instant, he arrived above the dragon mark fruit. Before the three could react, Xiao Chen had already moved. With a suction force, the dragon mark fruit flew into his right hand. When the blue dragon swung its tail, it was like a gust of wind blowing past. It was incredibly fast. Shimin Bao and the other two were currently focused on their opponent. However, their attention on the dragon mark fruit had decreased significantly, giving Xiao Chen an opportunity. They had not expected someone to be so bold as to snatch the dragon mark fruit right in front of the three of them. By the time Xiao Chen reacted, the dragon mark fruit was already in Xiao Chen's hands. He had placed it in his universe ring. Seeing the dragon mark fruit snatched away, Shimin Bao immediately became enraged. He roared, "Where did this dog come from? How dare he snatch my Shimin Bao's things?" Clang! The sword was unsheathed, and the surging sword chi, along with the faint sword intent, emitted a buzzing sound as it shot towards Xiao Chen. The sword chi was like a pillar, like a rainbow that tore through the sun, and it swept out in all directions with unstoppable might. Niu Deng's expression sank, and he immediately leaped up. He clenched his fist and activated the ancient giant's bloodline. Then, he roared ferociously with a vast might. A sinister look flashed in Dan Tianyu's eyes. He drew a short sword and turned around, silently arriving behind Xiao Chen. The short sword gave off a cold light. Unexpectedly, Dan Tianyu wanted to cut off Xiao Chen's arm, which was wearing the universe ring. It was extremely vicious. When the cultivators below, who were originally anticipating the fight between the three experts, saw this scene, they were all dumbfounded. They had not expected such a scene to occur. Unexpectedly, someone was so bold as to snatch away the dragon mark fruit, offending all three experts in an instant. The three attacked at different times. Xiao Chen did not panic. He circulated the 1,000 tons of force of vital qi in his body and executed the Dragon Claw Fist's third move, breaking armor. A sharp shockwave formed in front of Xiao Chen's fist. When Xiao Chen punched, the breaking armor attribute of breaking armor shattered the thick and dense sword qi. After shattering the sword qi, Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu took advantage of this opportunity to charge towards Xiao Chen. One of them carried the vast might of an ancient giant. His fist was like a mountain descending, wanting to smash Xiao Chen into a pile of meat paste. The other person was sinister and vicious. He radiated a baleful aura as he brandished his short sword, wanting to chop off Xiao Chen's arm and flee. When the two arrived before Xiao Chen, their faces lit up with joy. At such a close distance, this white-robed brat of unknown origins would not be able to deal with the two of them at the same time. Xiao Chen smiled faintly, and the strong ancient sovereign's bloodline in his body instantly activated. An ancient, noble, distant, and epic sovereign's aura spread out from Xiao Chen's body. Before this mountain-like sovereign's aura, the ancient giant's bloodline and the baleful aura accumulated by loose cultivators were like fallen leaves in autumn, swept away. Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu showed startled expressions at the same time. The sovereign's aura at such a close distance struck them. They could not help feeling flustered, a fear that came from the depths of their hearts. Oh no! The two of them were experts who had experienced hundreds of battles. They immediately realized that something was wrong. They struggled free from the sovereign's aura and tried to retreat. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave and stern. How could he give the two an opportunity to retreat so easily? Xiao Chen stomped heavily on the blue dragon image. His body was like a ferocious tiger as he infused 1,000 tons of force into his right leg. Bang! 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 Xiao Chen's leg moved like lightning. The instant his body soared into the air, he swept out. A strong wind blew, and his momentum was like thunder. Two muffled sounds rang out as Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu each received a kick to their cheek. They vomited a mouthful of blood as their bodies spun in the air and fell miserably to the ground. In a few breaths, Xiao Chen easily broke the attacks of the three experts. He even executed a beautiful counterattack, sending Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu flying back. Xiao Chen's white robes fluttered, and his eyes remained calm like water. Then, he gently landed on the blue dragon image and looked at the three calmly. Damn it! Who is this person? Unexpectedly, he broke the attacks of 3 experts so easily. I have never heard of such an expert in the Tianwu domain before. Furthermore, he is so young. He seems to be cultivating his physical body. However, the quintessence in his body is very dense. Could he be a dual cultivator? The surrounding people were all stunned. They revealed doubtful expressions as they looked at the white-robed Xiao Chen. No matter how they thought about it, they could not imagine when such an expert appeared in the Tianwu domain. When Shimin Bao clearly saw Xiao Chen's appearance, he became thoroughly enraged. A murderous intent erupted in his eyes like a flood. He said coldly, First, you injured my Shimin clan's people. Now, you are here to snatch my dragon mark fruit. It looks like you are tired of living. Xiao Chen's face sank. A large part of the reason why he did not immediately leave after obtaining the dragon mark fruit was to teach this Shimin Bao a lesson. The Shimin clan's people were arrogant and despotic. First, they wanted to snatch Xiao Chen's earth essence fruit. Then, when they failed, they tried to kill him, setting up an ambush to kill him. He had never been a kind-hearted person. Even when he was bullied by others, he still had to swallow the humiliation. Xiao. A strong wind blew, and to everyone's surprise, Xiao Chen took the lead. His aura was like a berserk dragon, not waiting for Shimin Bao to finish speaking before he charged over. The image of a blue dragon condensed on Xiao Chen's fist. The dragon head roared ferociously as it charged at Shimin Bao. Shimin Bao smiled coldly and withdrew his sword light. Then, he swung his sword, infused with vast quintessence, at the dragon head, trying to shatter it. However, Xiao Chen was no longer the Xiao Chen of half a month ago. His vital qi had already broken through 1,000 tons of force. Every 500 tons of force was a threshold. With every threshold, there would be a qualitative improvement. On the surface, Xiao Chen's strength had only increased by 100 tons of force. However, it was on a completely different level from before. The dragon head and the sword clashed, neither giving way to the other. An intense explosion resulted in a strong wind surging out in all directions, kicking up a large amount of dust. The fist and the sword were evenly matched. Then, Xiao Chen opened his left hand and formed a claw. Then, he pressed forward and clawed at Shimin Bao's chest with the berserk dragon claw. Shimin Bao showed a shocked expression. He could not understand how Xiao Chen could improve so quickly. Just based on vital qi, Xiao Chen could fight him to a draw. However, the azure-colored dragon claw already arrived. Shimin Bao did not have much time to think. He pushed off the ground and retreated, trying to put some distance between them. The fist and the claw switched places. Xiao Chen followed Shimin Bao like a shadow, not giving him any chance to put some distance between them. Xiao Chen forced Shimin Bao back continuously. Xiao Chen's fist and claw contained 1,000 tons of force. When their vital qi exploded, the entire cave trembled. The rocks above them fell off. Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu had stood up long ago. When they saw Xiao Chen and Shimin Bao fighting, they did not make a move to help. Their gazes flickered as they searched for an opportunity. To them, both Shimin Bao and Xiao Chen were opponents. It would be best if the two fought to the death. Shimin Bao's expression turned increasingly unsightly. After Xiao Chen closed in, Shimin Bao no longer had a chance. He could only keep dodging, unable to find an opportunity to put some distance between them. Dan Tianyu, Niu Deng, how long are you two going to keep watching? Damn it! This old man is going to be crippled soon. Feeling helpless, Shimin Bao shouted at Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu. Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu could not help but show startled expressions. What kind of character was Shimin Bao? He was someone second only to the 7 giants of the Tianwu domain's younger generation. Shimin Bao had always been arrogant, despotic, and unreasonable. Unexpectedly, he ended up begging for mercy like that. Dan Tianyu said sullenly, "Let's work together to defeat this brat first. Then we can fight for the dragon mark fruit." Niu Deng touched the footprint on his cheek with his right hand. A grave look flashed in his eyes as he nodded heavily. Xiao Chen had been observing Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu with his spiritual sense. He was very familiar with their actions. Xiao Chen's gaze turned cold, and he stopped wasting time with Shimin Bao. He used the armor-breaking fist to shatter Shimin Bao's protective quintessence before executing seizing the heart. Xiao Chen's 5 fingers turned into claws as he ruthlessly pressed them on Shimin Bao's chest. Dang! Xiao Chen's 5 fingers struck something hard. Xiao Chen's sure-kill strike did not succeed. He only managed to knock Shimin Bao back and vomit a mouthful of blood. It looks like the inner vest he is wearing is not ordinary. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He guessed that Shimin Bao was wearing a life-saving secret treasure. He looked coldly at Shimin Bao, who fell to the ground, and ignored him. The blue dragon under Xiao Chen's feet circled around and turned around. When he saw Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu pouncing over again, Xiao Chen waved his left hand, and the lunar shadow saber appeared in his right hand. It is too late to think of working together now. At this moment, Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu no longer held back. They both used their trump cards, heaven-ranked martial technique. Xiao Chen's gaze remained calm, not showing any fear. He silently circulated his energy for Soaring Dragon, and his vast quintessence flowed like a river in his body. Chapter 721. Hidden Dragon in the Depths, a gentleman takes action after planning. Soaring dragon in the sky, its might shakes the surroundings. A surging energy surged throughout Xiao Chen's body. The blue dragon martial spirit hidden in his dantian moved gently and leaped out. Xiao Chen also took a gentle step in the air. With a light step, he caused the void to tremble, and the entire space to shake. The blue dragon martial spirit soared up. Just as it was about to break out of his body, Xiao Chen finally drew the saber in his hand. Xiao Chen transformed into a true dragon. His body merged with his saber like a true dragon that had been in hibernation for a long time. The sharp saber light was like a soaring true dragon swinging its claws in rage. The dragon soared into the sky. The man and the saber merged perfectly. There were no openings at all. At this moment, Xiao Chen was like a dragon, a soaring dragon. No one could stop him or block him. Xiao Chen's saber was the claws of this dragon's rage. Xiao Chen completely grasped the feeling of drawing his saber when soaring dragon in the sky, which he had been unable to find. On the contrary, Xiao Chen's mental state was clear. Aside from Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu executing their heaven-ranked martial techniques, he saw nothing else. Bang! The unparalleled saber move disappeared in a flash, shattering Niu Deng's and Dan Tianyu's incomplete heaven-ranked martial technique. Although they were both heaven-ranked martial techniques, one grasped the move while the other only imitated it. At this moment they were on completely different levels. From a distance, in that instant, Xiao Chen looked like a true dragon, carrying an unparalleled might as he soared into the sky. Niu Deng and Dan Tianyu, who were blocking the true dragon, got knocked back in one exchange. The berserk saber chi easily broke their protective quintessence shields. The saber chi left countless wounds on their bodies, causing blood to spurt out. Horrifying wounds covered their entire bodies. They were so deep that their bones could be seen, excruciating pain. Clang! Xiao Chen sheathed his saber. Then, he turned around and stood calmly in the air. He glanced at the 2 groaning people on the ground. Then, he looked at Shimin Bao, who was not far away, frightened silly when he climbed to his feet. An indiscernible look of disappointment flashed in his eyes, but he remained silent. After a while, Xiao Chen rode on the blue dragon and left, leaving only his back to Shimin Bao, Niu Deng, and the others. These people didn't know that from now on, they could only see Xiao Chen's back. Once he surpassed her, she would never have the chance to catch up. Shimin Bao was very excited. Shimin Bao caught the imperceptible disappointment in Xiao Chen's eyes. That was contempt. Shimin Bao's talent was outstanding, second only to the 7 giants of the younger generation. However, today, A fifth-ranked white-robed bladesman looked down on him. Shimin Bao's emotions fluctuated too much, affecting the wound on his chest. He could not help but cough a few times. The more he coughed, the more painful it became. In the end, he actually coughed out a large mouthful of blood. In reality, he didn't know that even before Xiao Chen's cultivation and strength increased, Xiao Chen was already able to easily escape from his hands. It wasn't as simple as he thought. Now that Xiao Chen's cultivation had increased significantly, his quintessence had refined twice, his vital qi had crossed the threshold of 1,000 tons of force, and he had comprehended the essence of soaring dragon. Naturally, it would be easy for Xiao Chen to defeat Xiao Chen. Everything was within reason. Now, among the younger generation of the Tianwu domain, only the 7 giants could suppress Xiao Chen. I know who he is. Suddenly, an excited shout came from the crowd behind Xiao Chen, sounding very anxious. He is that white-robed bladesman from the Haotian sect, the one who challenged Bai Wuxue. The challenge that Xiao Chen issued to Bai Wuxue at Giant Sword Peak had already spread throughout the Tianwu domain. Everyone knew about it. However, most people just took it as a joke and did not care too much about it. Some even called Xiao Chen a madman. However, at this moment, after seeing Xiao Chen defeat Shimin Bao, Niu Deng, and Dan Tianyu, no one dared to look down on Xiao Chen and say that Xiao Chen was a madman. Is that him? This is incredible. No matter what, he is now qualified to challenge Bai Wuxue. It has been so many years. The 7 giants of the Tianwu domain are like a mountain, suppressing the younger generation. Perhaps the situation of the Tianwu domain, which has not changed for many years, is about to change. He should be going to the burial grounds. Bai Wuxue went there long ago. Come, let's go and take a look as well. Let's stop searching for treasures and go take a look. I really want to see what kind of sparks will fly when Bai Wuxue meets this brat. The disciples of the various sects felt excited, their blood surging uncontrollably. They all gave up on searching for treasures and chased after Xiao Chen. Soon, all the cultivators in this place had left. Only Shimin Bao, Niu Deng, and Dan Tianyu remained, making the place seem rather deserted. Previously, the 3 of them had been the focus of everyone's attention when a huge battle was about to erupt. Who could have imagined that in the blink of an eye, everyone's attention would be snatched away by Xiao Chen? They no longer paid any attention to the 3 of them, losing all interest in them. Niu Deng struggled to his feet. His earlier rage had already vanished. His gaze was calm as he cursed softly. For a heaven-ranked martial technique, power is the most important. I have to go back and comprehend my own power. Otherwise, I am nothing. After Xiao Chen spoke, he did not care about anything else. Unexpectedly, he headed back, giving up on the fortuitous encounter in the true dragon cave. Shimin Bao suffered a heavy blow as well. He muttered, I finally understand the difference between me and the 7 giants. The experts of the Tianwu domain, second only to the 7 giants. Smiling self-mockingly, Shimin Bao said, In the past, I was very happy about this title. Now that I think about it, it is really laughable. There are at least 80 people who are second to the 7 giants. However, there are only 7 of the 7 giants. What do I count for? Shimin Bao felt incomparably fatigued. He shook his head and followed Niu Deng's footsteps, heading back. Perhaps losing the dragon mark fruit this time was not a bad thing. As for Dan Tianyu, he could not just leave like that. He was already very old. He needed to make use of this opportunity to see if he could find an opportunity to break through to half-sage. If he could not find one, he would remain a peak late-stage superior-grade martial monarch for the rest of his life, until he died. The burial ground has the remains of a true dragon. However, the competition is too intense. I will definitely not get a chance to obtain the good stuff. Coincidentally, the people here are all gone. I will search around. Dan Tianyu treated his injuries and started to search around the area. He hoped to find a few good treasures that he could exchange for some resources when he left. Riding on the blue dragon, Xiao Chen moved up and down. With the map to guide him, he moved very quickly. The burial ground had the remains of a true dragon. The entire skeleton of a true dragon was a treasure. Any piece of true dragon bone could be forged into a superior grade bone weapon. It could also be ground into medicinal powder or refined into all sorts of precious medicinal pills. As for the vertebrae on the back, they could be forged into a bone dragon whip, a powerful bone weapon. To Xiao Chen, what he needed was the dragon marrow hidden in the vertebrae of a true dragon. However, the dragon marrow depended on the probability. Not every skeleton had the dragon marrow, which was why it was so precious. If nothing unexpected happened, all the half-sage experts who came for experiential training would appear in the burial ground. Not only the 7 giants and loose cultivators of the Tianwu domain, but also the half-sage loose cultivators of the fiend race. Xiao Chen could foresee that the competition in the burial ground would be incredibly intense. With so many half-sage experts watching, it would be incredibly difficult for Xiao Chen to obtain the dragon marrow. Whether he could obtain what he wanted was still unknown. After about 7 or 8 minutes, the burial ground appeared before Xiao Chen's eyes. It was an extremely spacious cave. When Xiao Chen looked up, he saw that the ceiling was at least a kilometer above the ground. The vast cave was filled with dense true dragon qi. A vast dragon might was everywhere, assaulting one's face and making breathing difficult. There were 5 true dragon remains in the cave. There were at least 2 teams fighting intensely for each true dragon skeleton. This was especially so for the largest true dragon skeleton in the middle. There were 7 or 8 half-sages engaged in a horrifying battle. No one dared to approach rashly. The terrifying energy ripples in the air did not stop for even a second. The sound of weapons clashing could be heard continuously. The scene was extremely chaotic. Occasionally, the miserable cries of cultivators rang out. For the sake of the most precious treasures in the true dragon cave, everyone's eyes turned bloodshot. Xiao Chen looked around and finally found Shui Lingling. She led Hu Hai's group and fought with the extreme insect disciples led by Bai Wuxue, fighting for a true dragon skeleton. However, the situation did not look good. Xiao Chen and Bai Wuxue were evenly matched. However, the extreme insect disciples forced Hu Hai and the others into a retreat. The situation was grim. If Hu Hai and the others were defeated, the remaining true inheritors of the extreme insect would be able to free themselves and break the stalemate between Xiao Chen and Bai Wuxue. Then, they would no longer be able to obtain that true dragon skeleton. When Xiao Chen noticed Wang Qing, he paused for a moment and suppressed the murderous intent in his heart. Then, he grasped his lunar shadow saber and calmly flew in the direction of Shui Lingling and the others. The extreme insect was one of the 9 ranks of the great families in the north. There were 2 publicly known Emperor Wu in the sect. They had deep accumulations and were stronger than the Haotian sect. The true inheritors of the extreme insect were stronger than the Haotian sect. Hu Hai, Junsi, Wang Qing, and Chen Xiao each had to fight 1 person each. It was very taxing for them. All of them had a few wounds on their bodies, and their combat prowess plummeted. The situation was dire. Hu Hai, you can't hold on for much longer. In that case, you should give up. This true dragon skeleton is definitely our extreme insect. The one fighting Hu Hai was a tall and skinny disciple of the extreme insect. He wore blue robes and held a 1-meter-long sword in his hand. His exquisite sword techniques and deep cultivation completely suppressed Hu Hai's huge axe, preventing him from bringing it out. The huge axe was originally focused on large swings, advancing indomitably and tyrannically. However, at this moment, Hu Hai's movements were flustered and he could only defend passively. The extreme insect swordsman completely grasped the rhythm of the battle, forcing Hu Hai into a sorry state. If he was not careful, his protective quintessence would break, and a sword wound would appear on his body. Hu Hai clenched his teeth and did not say anything. He stubbornly resisted the other party's attacks, doing his best to find an opportunity to turn the situation around. Chapter 722. The cultivations of the other three were even lower than Hu Hai's. Clearly, they were in an even worse state. They were surrounded by danger, like fallen leaves in a strong wind. They could fall at any moment. Shui Lingling, who was fighting by Wuxue, wanted to help. However, she could not free herself. After all, Xiao Qin was best at mid-range and long-range combat. If she could distance herself from Bai Wuxue and fight one-on-one, she would definitely be stronger than him. However, at this moment, Shui Lingling was in close combat, swinging her purple bow. She simply could not free herself to do so. It was already very difficult for Xiao Qin to remain undefeated against Bai Wuxue. Bai Wuxue had a relaxed expression. Snowflakes drifted around him as he stood amidst the wind and snow. He smiled faintly and said, "Shui Lingling, I admit that you are stronger than me. Unfortunately, your junior brothers are not up to standard. I advise you to give up on this true dragon remains, lest you humiliate yourself in the future." Shui Lingling showed a slightly angry expression as she thought to herself, if Xiao Qin were here, I would not be in such a passive position. Thinking of Xiao Qin, Shui Lingling immediately blamed herself. If she had not insisted on going through the true dragon storm back then, Xiao Qin would not have died in there. Xiao! Bai Wuxue's eyes lit up. He immediately caught on to the opening that Shui Lingling revealed while she was distracted. He pressed forward and snowflakes gathered in his palm. His palm immediately turned as smooth as jade as he pressed it towards Shui Lingling at lightning speed. It was silent and contained a strong killing intent. By the time Shui Lingling reacted, it was already too late to dodge. She could only receive this palm strike head-on. The cold qi poured into Shui Lingling's body like a gust of wind. Her red lips turned pale, and a faint layer of frost covered her fine black hair. Shui Lingling vomited a mouthful of blood and quickly retreated 100 meters. Then, she quickly circulated the profound yang art, and a white mist rose from her body. Only after she expelled the cold qi from her body did her complexion improve. The wind and snow did not stop, and cold qi spread everywhere. Bai Wuxue smiled coldly and said, "Shui Lingling, to think that you would make such a low-level mistake. You really disappoint me." Bang! Suddenly, a painful cry came from below. It was the Haotian Sex Jun Si. She finally could not hold on any longer, and her weapon was knocked out of her hand by her opponent. After that, Jun Si was sent flying with a palm strike. She vomited a mouthful of blood, her face pale. The person who injured her laughed sinisterly. With a flicker, he wanted to give her the final blow. When Bai Wuxue saw this scene, he could not help but laugh loudly. He shouted coldly, "Shui Lingling, you have already suffered a crushing defeat. Are you still going to persist?" Reluctance appeared on Shui Lingling's pretty face. However, now that the situation had turned around and she no longer had any chance, she could only give up. The hearts of Hu Hai and the others were filled with despair. It was not easy for them to arrive at this burial ground, but in the end it was all for naught. They could not obtain anything. Huff! Just at this moment, a gust of wind blew past and swept up Jun Si's body. The wind spun around and pounced toward the person who had injured her. Boom! Suddenly, a thunderous explosion resounded in the calm air, causing space to tremble. That extreme insect disciple cried out miserably. His ribs broke, and he went flying back in a sorry state, crashing into the huge true dragon remains. That extreme insect disciple's face twisted in unbearable pain. Blood flowed out of a corner of his mouth like a fountain, and a deep reluctance appeared in his eyes. The sudden appearance of a strong wind shocked everyone. They could not help but pause as they looked over. The strong wind stopped. Xiao Qin, who was riding on 3 blue dragons and executing the cloud-soaring art to its limits, slowly revealed himself. Junior brother Xiao Chen, you are not dead. Junxi, who was in Xiao Chen's embrace, opened her eyes wide, filled with boundless joy. Xiao Chen smiled faintly. Then, he extended his hand and sent out a gentle energy, slowly pushing Junxi's body down. Hu Hai's and Qin Zhao's faces lit up with joy. When they saw that Xiao Chen had returned alive, and that his strength had improved significantly, even injuring an extreme Yin sect disciple with one palm strike, their spirits were lifted. Only Wang Qing paled. His heart trembled as if he had seen a nightmare. He muttered, "How can this fellow not be dead?" However, Wang Cheng's opponent did not care at all. Taking advantage of Wang Cheng's state of confusion, he kicked Wang Cheng's face and sent him flying. Xiao Chen gently drifted over to Shui Lingling's side. He said, "First senior sister, leave this person to me. You go down and deal with those bugs." When Shui Lingling saw that Xiao Chen was not dead, the knot in her heart immediately loosened. A smile finally appeared on her cold face. However, when she heard Xiao Chen say that, she asked somewhat worriedly, "Can you really do it?" Xiao Chen smiled confidently. Then, he looked at Bai Wuxue and said, "Naturally, it is impossible to defeat him. However, blocking 100 moves from him will be easy." After 100 moves, Shui Lingling would definitely deal with the problem below. At that time, she would surround Bai Wuxue and defeat him without a doubt. "I believe in you." Shui Lingling smiled gently and floated down. She gently pulled back her bowstring and forced Hu Hai's opponent to retreat quickly. Bai Wuxue was expressionless as he looked coldly at Xiao Chen. He smiled in disdain and said, "I really wonder what fortuitous encounter you had to give you such confidence that you want to die so badly." Xiao Chen smiled gently and drew the lunar shadow saber with his left hand. Then, he stood on the blue dragon image and said calmly, "I will stand here. Let's see how you are going to kill me." Great Ice Palm. The snowflakes drifting in the air suddenly gathered together and formed a huge ice palm. It appeared out of nowhere and pressed towards Xiao Chen like an ice mountain. This move appeared out of nowhere and was untraceable. However, it was extraordinarily mighty. It had once reduced Xiao Chen to a sorry state. The purple clouds gathered in Xiao Chen's dantian scattered and turned into surging quintessence. They flowed through Xiao Chen's meridians like a surging river. Instantly, Xiao Chen's quintessence surged, and his clothes fluttered without any wind. He circulated all his quintessence at this moment. The immortal state of thunder and the perfect 70% comprehended saber intent all gathered together. Xiao Chen was extremely focused. A saber light flashed, and a purple bolt of lightning tore through the sky. It lit up the dark burial ground. Saber intent, state, quintessence, everything gathered on the lunar shadow saber, and turned into a resplendent purple saber light surging out. Kassier. The light paused, and the great ice palm was chopped in half. It brushed past Xiao Chen and shattered, turning into ice shards filling the air. The residual static in the air crackled and exploded into water droplets, falling to the ground. Pointing his saber at Bai Wuxue, Xiao Chen stood on the blue dragon. His white robes fluttered, and a boundless fighting spirit filled his heart. Seeing Xiao Chen break his great ice palm so easily, Bai Wuxue's pupils constricted. He was clearly surprised. He clearly remembered that half a month ago, when Xiao Chen faced his great ice palm, he was in a sorry state. Xiao Chen had to use his trump card before he could barely block it. How could Xiao Chen improve so much in such a short time? They're fighting. They're really fighting. When the sect cultivators who had chased after Xiao Chen saw Xiao Chen pointing his saber at Bai Wuxue, they immediately cried out. There were 5 true dragon remains in the burial ground. Naturally, the place where the most intense battle took place was the one in the center, where the Thunder and Lightning Palaces and Juanxi fought against 5 fiend race loose cultivators. And Juanxi's strength was as strong as the rumors said. As electric light flashed around, he easily fought against the 5 fiend race loose cultivators. and Yuanxi stood proudly on the dragon's skeleton. With one person and one whip, he firmly suppressed the 5 fiend race half-sage loose cultivators, keeping them at bay. However, Yuanxi had been famous for a long time already. Although such strength was shocking, it was within reason. The fight was not as exciting as the one between Xiao Chun and Bai Wuxue. The 7 giants of the Tianwu domain had not met with a proper challenger for many years. These 7 giants held noble statuses and were famous far and wide. There were rumors of them everywhere. They had stood strong for more than 10 years, and their golden reputation was deeply rooted in everyone's hearts. Originally, everyone treated Xiao Chen as a joke. However, when they saw Xiao Chen defeat Shimen Bao, Niu Deng, and Dan Tianyu, 3 experts, no one dared to think that way anymore. Chapter 723. The many cultivators who followed all focused their gazes on Xiao Chen and Bai Wuxue, clearly excited. After not seeing you for some time, you have become more capable. However, in the end, you will not be able to escape death. Bai Wuxue snorted coldly. His figure flashed, and a boundless snowflake appeared. In an instant, he arrived before Xiao Chen and sent a palm strike at Xiao Chen's head. 3 azure dragons circled around Xiao Chen as he took 3 steps back. His saber light danced around, giving off resplendent electric light. It blasted the drifting snowflakes into raindrops, which fell to the ground one by one. The other party's state of ice was extremely strong. It had already touched the boundary of the will of ice. If Xiao Chen could not use his state of thunder to neutralize it, it would severely affect his speed. When the cold qi entered the body and accumulated to a certain level, it would turn into a cold poison. At that time, he would lose even if he did not lose. Although Xiao Chen's state of thunder was weaker than his opponent's, it contained the immortal attribute. It would not crumble that easily. Bang! Bai Wuxue's palm was as smooth as jade, giving off a cold light. When it touched the saber, it gave off a cold light and instantly sealed the lunar shadow saber in ice. A frost-like white mist spread from the tip of the saber to the hilt, trying to seal Xiao Chen in ice. Xiao Chen clenched 2 fingers on his left hand. His expression did not change as he placed them on the bottom of the saber. The dense lightning-attributed quintessence turned into a lightning-attributed fire that soared upwards. The fire immediately melted the cold qi, and the hot qi scattered like a white mist. However, Bai Wuxue did not even bother to look at it. He continued forward and used his palm as a saber, hacking at Xiao Chen's head. The drifting snowflakes condensed into a line and formed a saber light that was as cold as metal. When the cold light appeared, it gave off a dazzling, snow-white light. Xiao Chen leaned back and quickly dodged, not giving Bai Wuxue a chance to get close. Xiao! Bai Wuxue's earlier saber light turned into an ice mirror. If Xiao Chen had been too fast, he would have been stuck in the ice mirror. Snowflakes drifted down, and lightning flashed everywhere. The 2 people in the air moved faster and faster, so fast that it was hard to distinguish them. He could only see 2 blurry shadows, one white and one blue. The blue shadow was cold and threatening, while the white shadow was filled with electricity. The saber qi and the palm wind clashed. Boundless energy flew in all directions and blasted deep pits on the ground. Strange, who exactly is it? Even after Bai Wuxue used his full strength, he could not land quickly. Wang Meng, who had already won, stood on a true dragon corpse, looking confused. Wang Meng was the most flamboyant of the 7 giants. Even if he met Nuan Muyun, one of the 3 holy masters, he would not back down. He asked his fellow disciples behind him, "Who is that white figure? Do any of you know?" The others scratched their heads, unable to figure it out. A younger female disciple said uncertainly, "Could it be that madman from the Haotian sect? That person also likes to wear white. He is also a bladesman." When that female disciple finished talking about Xiao Chen, Wang Meng's expression changed slightly. An excited expression flashed in his eyes as he said, "Interesting." Unexpectedly, Such a madman appeared in the Tianwu domain. Unexpectedly, Wang Meng, did not know about it. Across from Wang Meng was another of the 7 giants, Jiang Ziyuan. He had lost to Wang Meng in the fight for the true dragon corpse. At this moment, he focused his attention on the battle between Xiao Chen and Bai Wuxue. Jiang Ziyuan held a spear and revealed a contemplative expression. He smiled and said, "This person's saber intent seems to have reached 70% comprehension as well. Are you not afraid that he will surpass you?" Wang Meng carried a dragon-tooth saber on his back. He smiled and said, "Aside from Feng Xingxing, I look down on all the bladesmen of the Tianwu domain. I can't wait for more people like him. The more, the better. My saber has not met an opponent for a long time." On another true dragon corpse, Feng Xingxing, who defeated the scions of the Zhang clan and the Jun clan of the Tianwu domain's 4 noble clans, entered deep thought as he watched Xiao Chen fight with Bai Wuxue. A disciple behind Feng Xingxing said with some astonishment, "First senior brother, this white-robed bladesman really fought with Bai Wuxue. Furthermore, he did not lose." Feng Xingxing slowly sheathed his saber and sighed softly. "Originally, I intended to challenge Bai Wuxue among the 7 giants. It looks like I will have to change to someone else this time." Back when Feng Xingxing learned that Xiao Chen was going to fight Bai Wuxue, he had been interested in taking a look. However, he had not expected Xiao Chen to win. Now that Feng Xingxing saw Xiao Chen's strength, it was hard to say. Given another half a year, even if Xiao Chen could not defeat Bai Wuxue, he might be able to match Bai Wuxue. If that was the case, there would be no point in challenging Bai Wuxue. The scions of the Zhang clan and the Jun clan focused their attention on this battle as well. Challenging the 7 giants was the dream of many outstanding talents of the younger generation. However, after so many years, as the 7 giants became more and more dazzling, no one had taken this step for a long time. They were all afraid of humiliating themselves and losing their reputation. Now there was a person who was only a medial-grade martial monarch, yet he could fight with Bai Wuxue to such a degree. This was a huge blow to both of them. And Juanxi, who was currently fighting with the 5 fiend race half-sages on the skeleton in the center, also paid some attention to the battle between Xiao Chen and Bai Wuxue. And Juanxi did not think much of the 7 giants. The main reason was the immortal state of thunder that Xiao Chen used, which attracted his attention. The immortal state of thunder. If I have time, I should exchange pointers with this person. Even several sage elders of the Thunder and Lightning Palace have not comprehended the immortal state of thunder. Hu Qi. A fiend race loose cultivator wanted to take advantage of the moment, and Juanxi was distracted to forcefully charge in and take him down, snatching away the most precious dragon skeleton. And Juanxi smiled coldly and flicked his wrist. The electric whip became like a berserk dragon, showing its ferocity. The other 4 loose cultivators cried out in pain. Originally, this was in Juanxi's opening. However, when the 5 worked together, one of them left the formation and immediately turned the situation around to his advantage. The fiend race loose cultivator who sneak attacked in Juanxi was startled and quickly fled. The 5 fiend race loose cultivators regrouped, no longer daring to move rashly. Dance of Snow, 100 Flowers Bloom. Bai Wuxue attacked for a long time, unable to take down Xiao Chen. Finally, he got angry and executed a heaven-ranked martial technique, wanting to take down Xiao Chen in one move. If Bai Wuxue could not take down Xiao Chen in front of so many people of the same generation, then his reputation would be ruined. Under Bai Wuxue's control, the snowflakes drifting down from the air all turned into white flower buds. The flower buds bloomed and quickly absorbed the ice-attributed spiritual energy in the surroundings. The formless ice-attributed energy seemed to turn solid at this moment. Thousands of tiny, crystalline white lights appeared in the air, reflecting the light. The light illuminated the ice flower buds, making them crystalline and beautiful. The thousands of flower buds covered the sky, preventing anyone from dodging. Bai Wuxue looked at Xiao Chen and smiled coldly. 100 flowers bloom. Bloom. Right after Bai Wuxue spoke, many crystalline ice flower buds suddenly bloomed. They were like pure and holy women revealing their charming faces and smiling faintly. The thousands of flowers bloomed. This scene was pure and beautiful. However, it contained a fatal threat. The thousands of flower petals danced around, forming a bone-chilling wind current. The ice flowers shot towards Xiao Chen. Every petal contained a formidable ice attribute true essence. These tens of thousands of ice flowers were like ice flowers. These thousands of ice flowers were like a snowstorm. As long as one landed on a person, it would result in severe internal injuries. Xiao Chen could not let the ice flowers get close to him, not even one. Xiao Chen's expression turned grave. At the crucial moment, he held his saber with his right hand and executed the upgraded version of Saber Light Thunder Shadow, Ghostly Image Chop. Saber lights danced around. In an instant, Xiao Chen sent out 72 saber lights. Each saber light quickly split into 3. Instantly, saber images containing the state of thunder filled Xiao Chen's surroundings. The saber images were densely packed, encasing him tightly without any gap. Bang! 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 In the blink of an eye, one ice flower after another collided with the blade shadow, causing a loud sound to erupt. It was like an avalanche, dull and deep. In the spacious burial ground, the sound reverberated unceasingly, causing the entire ground to shake violently. The snowy mountains exploded, shattering like rocks for 500 kilometers. Such a scene seemed to appear before everyone's eyes. They felt like they were there. The dull sounds did not stop for even a moment. Every time an ice flower exploded, it would release horrifying ice-attributed energy. Dance of snow, hundreds of flowers bloomed. They were as magnificent as light, so beautiful that they could break one's heart. The many cultivators watching from a distance were astonished. Bai Wuxue truly lived up to his reputation as one of the 7 giants. A strong wind blew and snowflakes fell. Xiao Chen's figure was completely hidden in the snowstorm. No one knew if he was dead or alive. It's over. This Xiao Chen will probably be severely injured even if he does not die. Bai Wuxue is getting serious. It's been so many years since I saw Bai Wuxue use a heaven-ranked martial technique. For this Xiao Chen to be able to force Bai Wuxue to this extent, it is worth it. After all, he is one of the 7 giants. Xiao Chen was too rash. He should have stopped while he was ahead. The disciples of the various sects outside the burial ground discussed the situation. They all felt deep admiration for Xiao Chen for being able to force Bai Wuxue to this extent. However, they all thought that this was as far as he could go. Jiang Ziyuan, one of the 7 giants, held his spear and smiled gently. This fellow is still a little rash. However, since he did not die and managed to survive, he is quite a character. However, Wang Meng, who was on the true dragon remains, shook his head slightly and said, "It might not be what you think." Jiang Ziyuan frowned and said, "Could there be other variables? Bai Wuxue's dance of snow can already bring out 70% of its might. If he executed it, it would be difficult for us to deal with him." Wang Meng did not bother to argue. He smiled and said, "Keep watching and you will know." As the ice and snow flew, Bai Wuxue's expression relaxed somewhat. He was very clear on the might of his dance of snow. Bai Wuxue glanced at the battlefield below. 2 powerful people from the extreme Yin sect were currently holding back Shui Lingling. She would not be able to extricate herself for a while. Good. In that case, I will take this opportunity to end this scourge. Bai Wuxue's gaze turned cold. He made up his mind. After this move was over, he would eliminate the severely injured Xiao Chen, not leaving behind any future problems. Just at this moment, a strand of purple electric light suddenly appeared in the white world of ice and snow. Following that, the sound of surging water came from the ice and snow. Boom! The sound of water grew louder and louder. It was like a boundless ocean, vast and boundless. When it erupted, it crushed all the ice and snow into dust. Chapter 724. A purple sea appeared in front of Bai Wuxue. This was a sea made purely of electricity, sweeping away all the ice flowers. What's going on? A sea of lightning has appeared. It's Xiaochen. That sea of lightning is a phenomenon created by Xiaochen. He actually blocked that move. Exclamations rose one after another. Everyone's expression was slightly startled. They never expected Xiaochen to be so powerful and unexpectedly block the attack. Jiang Ziyuan was stunned and said, "Wang Meng, you already knew?" Wang Meng smiled faintly and said, "I am the same as you, unable to see through that world of ice and snow. It is only the purest feeling of a bladesman." Xiao. Suddenly, a strand of saber light shot out of the sea of lightning from somewhere. It was like a rainbow piercing through the sun, disappearing in a flash. It was so fast that no one could catch it. This elusive saber strike made Bai Wuxue feel the threat of death for some reason. At this critical moment, Bai Wuxue's rich combat experience, which he had accumulated for many years, made him feel the threat of death. Coupled with his half-saint cultivation and sharp reflexes, he quickly dodged to the side in the time it took for a spark to fly. Chi. A dim light flashed, and a few strands of hair fell from Bai Wuxue's forehead. They drifted to the ground, brushing past the Grim Reaper. Dragon subduing slash, Blue Dragon goes to sea. Seeing that his first move had failed, Xiaochen immediately switched to another one. His feet stepped on the Blue Dragon's shadow. Xiaochen suddenly braked in the air, and flew past Bai Wuxue. Then, he immediately stopped. The sudden stop produced a thunderous sonic boom that exploded in everyone's eardrums. The mysterious phenomenon of a vast sea materialized behind Xiaochen. 990 dragon pillars soared into the sky, and a blue dragon leaped out of the sea. Xiaochen brandished the dragon-shaped saber chi and used the aura of a blue dragon emerging from the sea to attack Bai Wuxue. The battle happened in a breath of time. That strand of saber light chopped off Bai Wuxue's hair and immediately turned into a dragon-shaped saber light, attacking. He did not give his opponent any chance to execute his martial technique. At the crucial moment of life and death, Bai Wuxue remained extremely calm. He brought out his half-sage cultivation to its limit. His clothes fluttered wildly, and his hair suddenly turned white. A cold light blossomed on his hands, and the radiance overflowed in all directions, dazzling and glaring. Ka! When Bai Wuxue saw the incoming saber blade, he shouted. His hands, which were glowing with a cold light, clapped down and clamped down on the saber blade. Boom! A horrifying clump of energy immediately burst out behind Bai Wuxue. 100-meter-wide pit appeared in the cave wall, turning pitch black. However, Bai Wuxue's body did not move at all in midair. He used his strong cultivation to receive Xiaochen's heaven-ranked martial technique head-on. People couldn't help but sigh at the profound cultivation and courage of the 7 tycoons. Blood leaked out of a corner of Bai Wuxue's lips as he clamped down on the saber. He looked at Xiaochen and smiled. "White-robed bladesman, you really surprised me. However, suppressing the cold chi in your body must be very painful, right?" Xiaochen's lips paled slightly. It was indeed as Bai Wuxue said. There was no way to completely dodge that dance of snow. Even though Xiaochen managed to dodge the ice flowers, the cold chi that appeared from the start had already silently entered his body. "Just take care of yourself." Xiaochen's blood surged as he instantly activated the sovereign's bloodline in his body. A distant, noble, ancient, heavy, and epic sovereign's aura surged towards Bai Wuxue. With the sovereign's aura at such a close distance, Bai Wuxue could not help but take a step back. However, he quickly recovered. However, Xiaochen took advantage of this opportunity to draw the lunar shadow saber from Bai Wuxue's hand. Then, he quickly executed the second move of the dragon subduing slash. Xiaochen turned into a true dragon, and his body merged with his saber. Then, he stomped on the air, causing space to tremble endlessly. A saber light flickered like a true dragon baring its claws in rage as it flew at Bai Wuxue. Bai Wuxue's expression changed slightly. With one glance, he could tell that this move was different from the previous one. It required a martial technique. Dance of snow, 100 flowers contend. Bai Wuxue's hands formed hand seals, and the dancing snowflakes in front of him suddenly condensed into all sorts of ice flowers. There were azaleas, peonies, roses, white flowers, and hundreds of other flowers. They formed 100 flowers formation made of ice and snow. They competed with each other and formed a strange aura, firmly locking down the space. The true dragon and the 100 flowers formation clashed and gave off a loud sound. The two each took 100 steps back. For the first time, the aura of soaring dragon did not knock anyone away. Instead, it barely managed to fight evenly. The flowers withered and turned back into dancing snowflakes. The blood at the corner of Bai Wuxue's lips was very eye-catching in the white snow. What kind of monster did I provoke? Unexpectedly, he even grasped the aura of a heaven-ranked martial technique. Bai Wuxue stared at the pale Xiao Chen. The shock in his heart could not be described with words. Incredible! Unexpectedly, he even comprehended the aura of a heaven-ranked martial technique. The passionate young master, Murong Lingfeng, who fought to a draw with Luo Zixiao on a true dragon corpse, gently waved his folding fan. Luo Zixiao, who was holding a sword beside Murong Lingfeng, said calmly, however, his situation is not optimistic. The dance of snow contains cold poison. The cold poison that has accumulated in his body has probably reached a certain level already. Murong Lingfeng smiled faintly and said, "It's fine. Shui Lingling is already free." Bai Wuxue gently wiped away the blood at the corner of his lips. Then, he looked at the pale Xiao Chen, who was clearly suffering from the cold poison. Just as Bai Wuxue was about to make a move, he suddenly felt an extremely dangerous gaze on him. As long as he made any strange movements, he would immediately face death. Bai Wuxue already guessed what was going on. He looked around, and it was indeed as he expected. Shui Lingling, who was on the ground, had already dealt with the few ruthless people of the extreme Yin sect. She had already drawn her purple bow, which contained immortal qi, into the shape of a full moon. An arrow made of pure profound sun-true flame was knocked on the bow. Shui Lingling's purple robes fluttered as she looked at Bai Wuxue coldly. Her meaning was clear without saying. Bai Wuxue glanced at the extreme Yin sect true inheritors lying on the ground, firmly subdued by Hu Hai and the others. He knew that he had lost his advantage. The priceless and inestimable true dragon corpse was no longer of any use to him. Then, Bai Wuxue raised his head and looked at Xiao Chen. He sighed ruefully. When he first met Xiao Chen, he had used less than 50% of his strength to force the other party to flee. When Bai Wuxue heard the other party challenge him, he had treated it as a joke. He felt that it was an insult to his reputation and only wanted to kill this person casually. Bai Wuxue had never truly treated Xiao Chen as an opponent. He had never felt that Xiao Chen was dangerous, so he had not taken Xiao Chen's challenge to heart. However, in a mere 2 months, Xiao Chen's strength had advanced by leaps and bounds. Bai Wuxue had used close to 100% of his strength, but he had still failed to deal with Xiao Chen quickly. Instead, he had gotten injured. Now, Bai Wuxue had no choice but to seriously consider this challenge. Bai Wuxue withdrew his hand and scattered his state of ice. Then, he looked at Xiao Chen and said in a cold voice, "The Haotian sect's Xiao Chen, as the top true inheritor of the extreme Yin sect, I ask you, are you really willing to challenge me?" Xiao Chen waved his hand and scattered his immortal state of thunder. Then, he sheathed his saber and said calmly, "I already said it long ago. I will not repeat myself." Bai Wuxue narrowed his eyes and smiled coldly. "Very well. In that case, I formally accept your challenge before all the younger generation of the Tianwu domain. I'll give you 1 year. Within this 1 year, the extreme insect will not send anyone to seek trouble for you. After saying that, Bai Wuxue flung his sleeves and led the extreme insect's true inheritors away from the burial grounds with cold expressions. Looking at Bai Wuxue's departing figure, the disciples of the various sects were deep in thought. Since Bai Wuxue became famous, countless people had challenged him, wanting to use him as a stepping stone for their own fame. However, without exception, all these people fell at his feet, seeking their own humiliation. Bai Wuxue had accepted hundreds of challenges. However, he had never formally accepted any of them. Today, he had accepted Xiao Chen's challenge before all the younger generation of the Tianwu domain. This was truly surprising. As they looked at Xiao Chen, they all felt envious. After this, the name of the white-robed bladesman, Xiao Chen, will spread throughout the entire Tianwu domain. That goes without saying. Bai Wuxue officially accepted this challenge. This is unprecedented. In the future, this battle will definitely attract everyone's attention. Strange, Bai Wuxue has met opponents before as well. However, he never acknowledged them. Could it be that Xiao Chen is really that strong? Bai Wuxue gave Xiao Chen 1 year. I wonder what he is thinking. As one of the 7 giants, he definitely has his own pride. He does not fear a true challenge. He probably did not take Xiao Chen seriously in the past. Bai Wuxue's acknowledgement of Xiao Chen's challenge was like dropping a bomb into a calm lake. It immediately incited a lot of discussion, making the place extraordinarily bustling. Xiao Chen's gaze was as calm as still water. He did not think that Bai Wuxue's acknowledgement was a big deal. Xiao Chen had always been indifferent to his reputation. He only knew that Bai Wuxue had injured him, bullied him, and humiliated him. So, he should return the favor. That was all. Xiao Chen gently drifted down and landed beside Shui Lingling. He said softly, "First senior sister, fortunately, I did not disappoint you. I managed to block a few moves from Bai Wuxue." Shui Lingling smiled and said, "Don't say anything first. I'll use the profound Sun True Flame to help you purge the cold poison in your body." Bai Wuxue's cold poison had already entered Xiao Chen's body. However, it was not as severe as others guessed. Xiao Chen's physical body had already reached rank 1 sage body. His skin, blood, bones, and meridians had all been tempered several times. It was extremely difficult for the cold poison to break through the layers of defense and enter his internal organs. Furthermore, Xiao Chen cultivated lightning-attributed quintessence, which was somewhat effective against this cold poison. As long as Xiao Chen did not continue fighting and did not purposely treat himself, the cold poison would slowly be purged over time. Xiao Chen was aware of his own situation. However, since Shui Lingling wanted to help, it would be unreasonable of him to reject her. So, he allowed Shui Lingling to send a clump of gentle profound Sun True Flame into his body. Qi. Qi. The profound Sun True Flame circulated through Xiao Chen's body and easily purged all the cold poison. The process was so smooth that it shocked Shui Lingling. After the cold poison left his body, Xiao Chen's somewhat unsightly expression immediately recovered its luster, and he became spirited. Shui Lingling withdrew her hand and smiled. "Your physical body is really terrifyingly strong. I wonder if you are a half-sage, who in the younger generation of the Tianwu domain can stop you." Chapter 725. When Xiao Chen heard this, he smiled faintly. However, he looked at the true dragon remains in the center without any pride in his eyes. The 5 fiend race loose cultivators there had already revealed their fiend forms. However, Anjuanshi still held the initiative. He stood on the head of the massive true dragon skeleton and lashed out with a lightning whip, beating the 5 fiend race loose cultivators into submission. "Let's not talk about this anymore. Let's split this true dragon remains. Hopefully, we will be lucky enough to find a few drops of dragon marrow." Shui Lingling smiled as she called everyone over. The others had already gone far away, but Xiao Chen did not move. Everyone could not help but look at him strangely, not knowing what Xiao Chen wanted to do. This person, he is not qualified to split the true dragon remains, Xiao Chen said calmly and coldly as he looked at Wang Qing expressionlessly. When Hu Hai and the others heard this, their expressions changed. They felt very confused. Xiao Chen's words were rather hurtful, not in line with his character at all. Sweat appeared on Wang Qing's forehead as his heart trembled. What should have happened had finally happened. Xiao Chen really did not intend to let him off. When Wang Qing saw Xiao Chen return and the strength he displayed, he had already anticipated his ending. However, now that it really happened, he could not help but feel extremely nervous. Qin Xiao said, "Junior brother Xiao Chen, although Wang Qing said some unpleasant things and was somewhat disrespectful to you, we are all from the same sect. There is no need to be so ruthless." Shui Lingling's gaze wandered around. When she saw the pale and trembling Wang Qing, she felt that something was wrong. She frowned and said, "Don't say anything first. Let Xiao Chen finish." Xiao Chen's eyes flashed with murderous intent as he stared at Wang Qing. Then, he enunciated every word clearly. "Back in the true dragon's storm, I did not fall down by accident. Instead, he sneak attacked and kicked me down." Buzz. Right after Xiao Chen said that, everyone's minds buzzed. They could not believe that what Xiao Chen said was true. Junxi's pretty face turned cold. She immediately said angrily, "Wang Qing, is what junior brother Xiao Chen said true?" Hu Hai remained silent. He looked at Wang Qing helplessly. Given Hu Hai's understanding of Xiao Chen's character, there was no need to accuse Wang Qing. Furthermore, when Xiao Chen fell into the true dragon storm, it was indeed very strange. Even Junxi, the weakest among them, had not been pulled out. How could Xiao Chen have been pulled out by the storm? However, despite their suspicions, no one thought that it was Wang Qing. No matter what, they were Wang Qing. They were Xiao Chen. Wang Qing glanced at Shui Lingling's expression. Shui Lingling's murderous aura was restrained, without the slightest trace of emotion. The last trace of hope in his heart was completely dashed. Now, there was Shui, Wang, Xiao Lingling Xiao No, and he, Shui, Ling, Xiao Chen Tian Chen, Chen, Xiao and Ling Xiao Chen of Qin Xiao, and Ling. Run. Wang Qing could not be bothered with Junxi's question. Without saying anything else, he turned and ran. Only by leaving this place could he survive. Given Wang Qing's movement technique, as long as Shui Lingling did not make a move, he would not be able to catch up to him in this chaotic burial ground. If the others wanted to catch up to him, they would have to put in a lot of effort, including Xiao Chen. Boom! However, Wang Qing underestimated the rage in Shui Lingling's heart. He had only moved 200 meters when a fiery light flashed like a meteor. Then, Wang Qing's head exploded into a pool of scarlet light. Shui Lingling gently put down the bow in her hand. She had a complicated expression as she sighed. "Originally, I prepared the flowing light arrow to deal with by Wuxue. Unexpectedly, I used it on my own people." Wang Qing's headless corpse slowly fell over. When the people in the surroundings saw this scene, they were startled, not knowing what happened. How strange. Shui Lingling would actually attack her own people, Murong Lingfeng said suspiciously as he jumped down from the true dragon's remains. Luo Zixiao, who fought Xiao Chen to a draw, said indifferently, "The internal affairs of the Haotian sect have nothing to do with us. Let's see if this true dragon remains have dragon marrow first. If there is, this trip will be worth it." Murong Lingfeng counted the vertebrae of the true dragon remains one by one. When he reached the 9th vertebrae, he stopped. "Ha ha! I advise you not to get your hopes up. These are all secondary dragons. The chances of them having dragon marrow are not high. The one that Enjuanshi is fighting for is the one with the highest chance." Murong Lingfeng said calmly as he removed the 9th vertebra with a faint smile. Among the true dragons there were also rank. Generally speaking, A true dragon cave would only have one master, and the rest would be its subordinate. Clearly, in this burial ground, the largest true dragon skeleton under Enjuanshi's feet was the true master of this place. The chances of this true dragon skeleton containing dragon marrow were also the highest. Otherwise, the loose cultivators of the fiend race would not have worked together to make a move. Nor would Enjuanshi be so interested. Naturally, Luo Zixiao understood this as well. He walked forward with his sword in hand and gently stroked the true dragon's skeleton. Then, he said indifferently, "It doesn't matter. Along the way, the spirit fruits, herbs, and rare ores I picked are enough. Just treat it as a pleasant surprise if there is dragon marrow. It is not a loss even if there is none." Murong Lingfeng held the segment of true dragon skeleton and shook it up and down. However, the bone was empty, there was no sound at all. He could not help but feel disappointed. If there was dragon marrow in it, when he shook it gently, the dragon marrow would flow. It would give off a resonant and vast true dragon roar, resounding throughout the world, extremely shocking. Clearly, there was nothing in this true dragon skeleton. However, this true dragon skeleton was already very valuable. Even if they split it evenly, they would not lose out. Be it exchanging it for resources, selling it for spirit stones, forging bone weapons, or refining medicinal pills, it would be very useful. On the other side, Wang Meng held the 9th vertebra of the true dragon skeleton as he looked at the white-robed Shao Chen. However, he did not make a move. Jiang Ziyuan, who was at the side, frowned slightly. He said unhappily, "Wang Meng, are you afraid that I will try to snatch it if there is dragon marrow? Why are you not testing it yet?" Wang Meng recovered his wits. However, he ignored Jiang Ziyuan's words. His gaze turned grave as he muttered, "So, it is him. That white-robed brat who snatched my half-drop of dragon marrow. It looks like I have to negotiate with Shui Lingling later." When Jiang Ziyuan saw the situation, he could not help but repeat what he said. He did not mean anything else. He just wanted to see whether there was dragon marrow or not. If there was, he could use resources to exchange for it with Wang Meng. Physical defense had always been Shao Chen's weakness. He really needed the help of dragon marrow. Wang Meng laughed loudly and casually tossed the vertebra over. He said, "In that case, do it yourself. Why would I, Wang Meng, be afraid of you playing any tricks?" Jiang Ziyuan could not be bothered to say more. He caught the vertebra and shook it. It was empty, there was no sound at all. Shao Chen could not help but reveal an expression of extreme disappointment. He looked at the huge skeleton in the center, where Enjuanshi and the fiend race loose cultivators were still fighting. "It looks like only that set of dragon bones will have dragon marrow," Jiang Ziyuan said calmly. Wang Meng's lips curled up slightly. He said, "That might not be the case. However, even if there is, you would not be able to exchange for it. Enjuanshi wants to use the entire vertebra to forge the true dragon lightning whip. Taking out the dragon marrow would destroy the integrity of the whip." Jiang Ziyuan sighed slightly and said, "I know that as well. However, Enjuanshi is becoming increasingly stronger. He will probably comprehend the will of thunder soon. At that time, he will be able to face the 3 holy scions head-on." Wang Meng said sullenly, "It is not that soon. He has already comprehended it. The problem now is how much of the will of thunder he has comprehended." When Jiang Ziyuan heard this news, his body paused visibly. He asked, "How do you know? Have you fought with him before?" Wang Meng's expression slowly turned grave. He nodded gently and said, "Do you think I am the kind of person who would give up the title of the strongest of the 7 giants so easily? I fought him once 3 years ago and lost within 100 moves. I fought him again 2 years ago and lost within 100 moves. I fought him again 1 year ago and lost within 10 moves." Defeating Wang Meng in 10 moves, Jiang Ziyuan could not help but reveal deep shock in his eyes. He said, "Their cultivation and martial techniques are about the same. There is only one explanation for losing so quickly. Wang Meng casually waved his hand and put away the entire set of true dragon remains. Then, he looked at the set of remains in the middle and said, "Just wait and see. In the next Sage War of the Proud Son of Heaven ranking, the top 3 positions will probably change." Before the anticipating gazes of his many junior brothers and sisters, Feng Xingxing gently shook the 9th segment of the true dragon bone. In the end, it was still empty. There was no sound at all. Aside from the one in the middle, 3 of the remaining 4 sets of true dragon bones did not have dragon marrow. The rarity of dragon marrow was evident once again. A true dragon cave would not be exposed at any time. Even if it was exposed, most of the dragon bones would not have dragon marrow. It was even possible for the entire true dragon cave to not have dragon marrow. First, senior sister, don't touch this segment first. Shui Lingling had already removed the 9th segment of the true dragon bone. However, Xiao Chen stopped Shui Lingling from doing so. The blue dragon martial spirit in Xiao Chen's body had recondensed. He had a strange connection to this true dragon bone. His spiritual sense and mental energy could not see through this true dragon bone. However, Xiao Chen had a hunch that this segment of the true dragon bone might contain dragon marrow. Once it was exposed, it would definitely attract attention from many places. At that time, there would be endless trouble. Shui Lingling was stunned for a while, but she still obeyed. Then, she handed the true dragon bone to Xiao Chen for safekeeping. As for the remaining true dragon bones, Shui Lingling divided them according to their individual strength. Xiao Chen and Xiao Chen each took 40%, and the remaining 20% was divided equally among Hu Hai and the other 2. No one objected to such a division. Without Xiao Chen and Shui Lingling, it would be impossible for the others to obtain even one segment of the true dragon bone. Boom! Suddenly, an extremely resonant divine thunder resounded. That thunder imprinted itself in everyone's sea of consciousness, reverberating endlessly and causing their seas of consciousness to churn endlessly. There was clearly only one thunder, but it resounded endlessly in everyone's minds. It was like they were in a sea of lightning. Everyone felt like bolts of lightning were circling them. The sky changed color, and the winds and clouds churned. It felt like the heavenly might of the lightning could shatter their souls at any moment. Xiao Chen stabilized his mind. His surging mental energy instantly allowed him to extricate himself from the illusion.